Imagine a jobless loser, living off his mother, who supports him. After he finished his military service, suddenly, he dreams that he's become the richest man in the world. Will this dream come true? Well, let's see what happened to the hero of our story. Gene, warning, warning. This content is a work of fiction. This video may contain scenes of fictional violence. All events and characters are fictional. All events and characters are products of the imagination. This content is for entertainment and analysis purposes only. We recommend viewing for those over 18 years old. Our story begins with a reporter on the street asking people what they would do if they suddenly had 100 million. But most people think that's not a lot of money. It would barely buy a car, let alone a house. So he asked them another question. What if you suddenly became the richest person in the world? Then they all get confused because they don't know what they would do if they reached that level of wealth. This interview was a segment on a show featuring our hero, Gene, and the host was saying to him, those were people's answers to the question. And you are the first and youngest Korean to become the richest person in the world. What's your secret? There are even rumors that you can see the future. Our hero replies, see the future? There's no such thing. But at that moment, our hero's eyes glinted as he looked past the camera crew and saw a Native American man standing there with a strange aura. Next to him was an eagle. Suddenly, the eagle took flight, soaring through the air above our hero. Our hero watched the eagle, his eyes glinting, and continued, I'm just an ordinary investor, but a very lucky one. And then our hero woke up. He sat up in his bed and said, Sergeant Gene, ready, sir. Our hero looked around and found himself in his apartment. He was surprised at himself, how the army still had a hold on him even now. He wondered why the eagle kept appearing in his dream, even though it was such a good dream. But that eagle was what ruined it. As for our hero, folks, he's a young man, 23 years old. He finished his military service a while ago, but he's currently unemployed. And as you can see, he lives with his mom in a small, one-room apartment. But his life wasn't always this depressing. He used to have his dad, whom he relied on, who had a respectable job. But times have changed, and now his mom is the one working odd jobs to help her son. This mother is a gentle person, very kind like a flower. Anyway, our hero grew up in this respectable family and became a young man, but a jobless, unemployed young man. A little later, we see him at his friend's place saying, hey, Take, your life hasn't changed at all. Take replies, that's not true. Can't you see how? My collection has gotten bigger. Gene continues, dude, your collection has been huge since middle school. I couldn't even tell the difference now. Take sits across from him and asks, what do you do for work now? Our hero answers, I'm broke right now, but at least you have a university degree. You can work as a teacher and help your mom. By the way, thanks for having dinner with my mom last time on her birthday. Take replies, what are you talking about? Your mom is like a mom to me. So how was the army? Gene replies, what can I tell you? You're the one who was exempt. Take smiles and says, you seem really jealous. Well, how about you hear something that'll make you even more jealous? Guess what? I found my Bitcoin wallet key. Our hero is surprised by his words. Take continues, I sold my character, Lutania, and got cryptocurrency for it. Gene replies, you mean the character that was worth 50 million? You were crying, saying your life was over when you lost it, and now you found it again. Take tells him that he found it while cleaning the bag with the special figurines in it. And yesterday, its price hit around $1,100. Our hero does the math and says, shop. So you mean it's worth 1 million won? Take holds up one finger and says, one nolt. The total isn't $1,100. I mean $1,100 for each nolt. Our hero starts calculating again, counting all the nolt his friend has. He gets even more stunned and says, no way, you have 13.5 billion. You bastard, you're dreaming. Take replies, hey, why are you cursing at me? Are you jealous or what? Anyway, it took me a long time to process. What happened? I'm so shocked that I don't even feel happy. Our hero tells him to give him 100 million to sort himself out. But Take refuses, saying, I've already put it up for sale on the exchange. even though its stock is still rising. Jean replies, "Ah, you bastard. If I'd known it would come to this, I would have taken the games more seriously." Then our hero remembers an incident that happened between him and his friend a long time ago when they used to play together. He grabs his friend and says, "Hey you, did you forget you sold my character? With your character last time, where's my share, you thief?" Take gets scared and asks, "Your share? How much was it?" Last time, our hero thinks as he stares out the window. He sees the eagle perched on the opposite rooftop, staring at him. Suddenly, our hero's eyes glint and the eagle flies towards the window. It flies in and soars above. Our hero, who looks at it, shocked. The eagle leaves behind it flaming letters in the air. It writes letters. Our hero looks puzzled. Take asks, "What's wrong? Why are you so startled?" He replies, "Do you know what Mount Hill is?" Take answers, "Yeah, that's the exchange where I trade my Bitcoin." "But why do you ask? Do you know something about it?" Our hero asks if it's a secure platform, or if there have been rumors of bankruptcy, or anything, because when he read the letters written in fire by the eagle, it spelled out the platform's name and the word bankruptcy. His friend answers, "What are you talking about? How can an exchange platform go bankrupt when it's doing very well?" Our hero thinks that this eagle and these letters, he's seen them before in the army, and if this wasn't a hallucination and was real, then something is happening. He tells Take, "Listen to me carefully and focus. You have to sell all the Bitcoin you have right now, immediately." Take asks why he suddenly wants him to do that. Jean says, "I can't explain it to you right now. Just trust me and sell immediately." He looks at him, puzzled, and says, "Okay, Fina, I'll sell everything. I was planning to do that anyway. I even asked my sister to open a dollar account for me. But since I'm doing this, you have to explain everything to me." Our hero agrees, looking at the letters as they disappear, remembering this is the second time he's seen the eagle. And if he wasn't hallucinating, then how did he know the name of an exchange platform that he's never heard of in his life? Or maybe he was just confused and had heard it before. Suddenly, Take jumps up shocked and says, "No, impossible. The server for Mount Hill just crashed." Our hero is shocked and asks, "What about the coins?" "The coins, what happened to them?" Take shows him his phone and says, "I sold it just in time." "Wait, I'll check. What happened? Maybe it's just server maintenance." "Oh my God." Our hero asks, shocked about what happened. Take continues, "The server's back up, but all the accounts are empty." We see the chat on the platform, with everyone cursing it out, calling them thieves. Take says, "Jean, you promised you'd tell me the truth, didn't you? What happened? Did you know this was going to happen? Speak up, man." Our hero looks around, stunned, unable to believe it. He says, "Honestly, I don't know, but I think I might have developed an ability that lets me see the future." We go back in time, 1 year earlier. We see Army mortar training, and our hero is among them. The officer tells them to pay close attention during the drill because he'll ask about the details when they get back to the camp. Our hero replies, "Understood, sir." Then our hero looks beside him and sees the eagle with an aura around it perched on a tree. Suddenly, the eagle flies into the air, passing in front of him. Our hero is startled, and his comrades are surprised by his reaction. Our hero says to one of his comrades, "Did you see the eagle? It just flew right over our heads." His comrade is surprised by what he's saying and tells him he didn't see anything at all. Our hero asks him how he could have missed it when it was so big. Our hero looks up again and sees numbers and letters written in the fire left behind by the eagle, and below them, the word explosion. He thinks it might be some kind of hologram, since it's the first time he's seen it. During training, he's puzzled by the letters and numbers and why it says explosion. At the same time, one of his comrades is preparing a shell to load into the mortar. And here, our hero thinks that the numbers could be the same as the ones on the shell. He thinks that maybe a person's instincts can sense a threat to their life, and their body reacts before their mind. He suddenly dives to the ground, yelling, "Everyone get down." At that exact moment, the mortar explodes. We return to our hero and his friend. We learn that our hero told him this story. Take says, "You were lucky. I mean, even though you were close to it, you weren't hurt." He replies, "Yes, that accident could have killed me, That accident could have killed me. But because of that mysterious warning, I escaped death. Take asks with the military. Doctor said. Our hero answers that it was trauma from the accident, and that it might have caused some memory confusion. Take continues. Anyway, since you've seen this thing twice, it's not a coincidence. It's a superpower. Our hero says, a superpower? Let's say you're right. How can you believe it so easily? Take grins and says, don't forget the mental fortitude I gained from anime. I mean, even if a beautiful girl and a dwarf appeared before me now, I'd still believe it. Our hero continues. Forget that stuff. Let's talk about more practical matters. My share, 1.25 billion. Because when you sold your character, you also sold my low-level character with it. So my share of the 13.5 billion is 9%, my friend. And if you don't give it to me, I'll burn all your figurines. Take calmly replies. Hey, why are you threatening me? Anyway, even if I wanted to give it to you, I can't give it all to you now. Because of the taxes. Our hero replies. I expected that. So you want to find me a tax loophole or something like that. Don't tell me you forgot I majored in economics at university. He replies, my sister told me, if there's going to be a tax on Bitcoin, I might end up paying billions. That's why I set up a tax shelter in a place called the American Deal Island in the US. And I started a company called OTK. Our hero is puzzled. And what's this company? Is it a code for otaku or what? Take laughs and replies. Otaku who? It's a symbol for my name. Take. And now all that's left is for us to live the good life. Forever, my man. Jean says to him, son, are you going to live your life trading game characters? Take replies, saying that it's not an easy thing to do, but Bitcoin was the reason for this outcome. And since his share is 1.25 billion, he'll give it to him. And indeed, folks, because of our hero's ability to see the future and his loyal and foolish friend, he now has 1.25 billion won. We see our hero at the bank, and in his account is 500 million. We learned that Take didn't transfer all the money, because if it were all transferred, there would be a 20% tax. That's why he only sent 500. He promised he would find another way to send him the rest of the money through his sister. Our hero leaves the bank, hoping this isn't a dream and thinking what he'll do with this money. He decides to help his mom so she can quit her job, and he'll buy her new clothes. A little later, we see him arrive at the mall. He looks around, searching for a store to buy from. Suddenly, he hears people shouting, and a woman says, what are you doing? Get this filthy piece of cloth away from my face. Another woman replies, apologizing to her. People are gathering around them, so our hero decides to go see what happened. The angry woman continues, before I file a complaint on your store's website, you're going to kneel before me and apologize. Now, do you know how much the shoe costs? You couldn't afford it even if you wiped my floors 1,000 times. We see the store owner bowing to her and apologizing. He looks at the woman who works in the store and tells her, what are you waiting for, you old hag? Kneel before her now. And here, our hero is shocked as soon as he sees this woman, because this woman is his mother. The woman continues shouting, are you going to kneel or pay for the shoe? The store owner says, hey you, do you want to get fired from your job or what? Apologize to the customer now. Our hero looks at his mom, shocked, and remembers that she told him about her job at the call center in the mall. That's located in the mall. And here, his mother decides to get down and kneel. But at that moment, our hero grabs her by the hand and says to the woman, what is so important that you'd ask someone to kneel before you, ma'am? As soon as she sees him, his mother is ashamed and turns her face away. The other way, the woman shouts, and who are you to interfere? Are you her son? Our hero replies that he is indeed her son, but his mother says, no, everyone, this young man doesn't know me. Our hero looks at his mom. Mom, what? Are you ashamed of me? I'm not ashamed of you. The woman is shocked after she finds out that our hero is her son. Our hero continues, may I know what exactly happened here? The woman replies, this woman put her mop on my shoe. Jean replies to her, is that the only reason that would make you force someone to kneel before you? The woman yells and tells him, do you know how much these shoes cost? They're 600,000 won. So our hero takes out the money and says to her, here you go. 600,000 won. And now, you have two options. Either you apologize to my mother, take the money, and leave, or you keep your shoes and leave with no money. The woman looks behind her and realizes that they are filming her. So our hero tells her, should I throw the money on the floor and make you kneel to get it? The woman looks around her and says, I'm sorry. Is that enough? She takes the money from our hero's hand and starts counting it. Then he says, manager, make sure you take the shoes off that woman's feet, because I bought them with my money. And if I don't find these shoes here tomorrow, I'll report them as stolen. Understand? The woman is shocked by his words. And we see our hero telling his mother, let's go. The woman yells at him, what are you doing? Aren't you even going to wear the shoes? Our hero looks at her and replies, not really. I don't even need them. I just want to throw them in the trash tomorrow. Thanks for the idea, old woman. The woman gets very angry at his words and tells him she's not old. After a while, we see our hero and his mom walking down the street, and she tells him, Gene, if I go and talk to them now, I might be able to fix this. He replies, since when, Mom? She replies that this happened only this one time, but he hugs her and says, what I meant was since when? Have you been so frail? Look, Mom, you don't need to work in a place again where they treat you in such a despicable way. And from now on, I'll take care of everything. His mom looks at him surprised because she knows everything and knows his secret. She pats his cheek and says, when did my dear son, Jean, grow up and become a man? A little later, we see them in a restaurant with food in front of them. His mom asks him about Bitcoin and why it's so expensive. He tells her it's something from video games and that she shouldn't worry about tuition fees and that he'll take care of it from now on. His mom replies, no, dude, this money is for you. I've already prepared your tuition fees, so I just want you to focus on your studies. And this money, you should invest it for your future. Jean tells her, okay, Mom, I'll think about it later. But first, let's move out of this house. Because of your cough, I think the house and its dampness are the cause. His mom replies, telling him not to worry about her. He tells her that this is money and he will use it for something useful. She tells him he's very stubborn, just like his father. Just then, the phone rings. It's his friend, Take. Our hero answers, and Take says, Gene, something urgent came up. Our hero answers, what do you mean? I'm having dinner with my mom right now. Take replies, she appeared suddenly. She's here. Our hero asks, who is? Take answers that his sister has returned to Korea. Now we go to the hotel. There are some young men standing in front. One of them tells his friend to look at the sight. Coming towards them, a car appears, looking very strange, like something out of an anime. It stops in front of the hotel. Inside are our hero and his friend Take. And of course, our hero is embarrassed by the car's appearance. After they get out, Take asks him, dude, what are you complaining about? The ride was great. Gene replies, I'm not complaining about anything, but don't drag me into your world. Just then, they hear the voice of Take's sister, whose name is Hyunju. She tells them, you're 3 minutes late. You came with him, Gene. It's been a long time since we've met. He replies, you're right. How are you? She says she's fine. After a bit, we see them sitting in a cafeteria in the hotel. She asks him if he finished his military service or not. He tells her he finished a while ago. She replies, so how about after you finish your studies, you come and work with me? Our hero replies, well, if an international investment firm like that would accept me, I'm ready. But sis, you seem worried about something. Hyunju replies, regarding Mountain Hill, I heard they declared bankruptcy. What about you? Take smiles and replies, I was lucky. I sold everything before the incident. Hyunju continues, what? You sold everything? Take tells her that he put all the money in an account at OTK company, which is about $1.2 million. Hyunju sips from her teacup and tells him, that's very reassuring. She puts a piece of paper on the table and says, take this. If you need to transfer large sums of money, you can call the manager of the Golden Gate branch in Gangnam. As soon as you call him, tell him you're with me, and he'll take care of everything. But you said you were going to sell the stocks gradually. Why did you sell them all at once? Take tells her he suddenly felt that he had to sell everything. Our hero asks her if she came here just for Take. She answers that she's here on business related to a company, and she'll be here for 10 days. Take is startled and says, 10 days. Hyunju continues, asking him, do you have a problem with that? Taek replies that he's happy and there's no problem. He asks her where she's staying. She points her finger up and tells him that she's staying in this hotel. And the entire inspection team that came with me is staying here. Generally, the one who pays the hotel bill is the company. Our hero thinks that the bill here is about 500,000 per night. But of course, that's not difficult for an international investment firm like this. Hyunju takes her phone and says she has to make a phone call. Now, she steps away from them, and Taek says, isn't my sister naturally intimidating? Our hero replies, it's not her fault. You're the one who made me feel this way. And Hyunju returns and tells him a call was about the schedule for the OPEC meetings. Taek says to her, isn't that the organization that deals in currency? Hyunju replies, let me be more specific. It's the organization of the petroleum exporting countries, and the results of the meeting will be announced the day after tomorrow. Suddenly, the eagle appears in front of our hero, and he looks at it, shocked. And just like every time, it flies around him and leaves him letters of fire. The letters spell out the word OPEC, and that there will be an agreement to cut production. Suddenly, Hyunju calls out to our hero and asks him if he's okay. He replies, sorry, I zoned out for a bit. Hyunju tells him, you're tired because of Taek, aren't you? Our hero laughs and tells her that he's used him by now. He asks her about the OPEC meeting. Hyunju answers, they're in Kuwait right now, talking about a production cut. Our hero is shocked when he hears this and asks Taek if this matter is important. Hyunju says, if financial assets are represented by stocks and bonds, then real assets are represented by oil and gold. And as you know, there are 3 major types of oil in the world. And even though America is a producer, the quantity doesn't meet domestic demand. Although they are an oil-producing country, they are considered the largest importer of it. And with the development of shale gas and shale oil, America became the largest supplier. You could call it the shale revolution. However, the biggest drawback of this oil is that it's very costly to produce, about $45 per barrel. That's why if the oil price drops below $50 per barrel, it's expected that more than half of the companies will go bankrupt. And that's what made OPEC call this urgent meeting to discuss cutting production. But the interests of the oil-producing countries are a very complex web. That's why it always ends in failure. Our hero asks her what will happen this time. Hyunju continues, honestly, it looks like it will end without an agreement. They always maintain a price of about $60 per barrel. And if that fails, it will be less than $50. Jean asks her, but what if they agree? What will happen? She tells him that the price of oil will then go up a lot, and the market will be more active. But the probability of that is very low. Our hero continues, but I think they will reach an agreement. This time, Hyunju is surprised and asks him why he thinks that. Our hero is startled because he spoke without thinking and says, I don't know. I mean, if that were to happen, it would be good. Hyunju says, yes, it would be good, but hope and expectation are 2 different things. After a while, we see our hero and his friend in the car, and our hero is thinking that if they reach an agreement to cut production at OPEC, just as he saw, then the price of oil will rise dramatically. He says to himself, so if we buy crude oil now, and this happens, in the future, there will be a huge profit, right? I predicted the explosion and the bankruptcy of Mountain Hill. So there's a chance that I'm predicting correctly about the OPEC production cut. But the problem is the money. I just signed a lease and planned to give my mom about $100 million. So the money I can use right now is $275 million. Should I use all of it? Taek interrupts him and says, the same thing again, isn't it? We were talking with my sister earlier, right? Our hero replies, this guy has an annoyingly good intuition. Taek laughs and tells him, you saw it, didn't you? So tell me, what did you see? Our hero says to himself while looking at his friend, wait a minute, there's still another way. And our hero explains the situation to his friend, who replies, you mean you predicted an agreement to cut production in OPEC? If that happens, the price of oil will go up, and you want us to buy before the announcement. Of course, right? Our hero tells him, exactly. I'm glad you understood me so quickly. Taek tells him, so how are we going to buy oil? Are you going to get barrels? and put them in the house. Our hero tells him to look forward and keep quiet. After they arrive at the apartment, we see them sitting in front of the computer, and our hero says, according to what Hyunju said, West Texas crude will barely maintain its price of $60. Take replies, is this for real? I heard what my sister said, but I feel like it won't have an effect. Jean continues, look, crude oil isn't just used for cars. It's used in very many industries. So when oil prices go up, it strongly affects product prices. How much do you have left? Tate grabs his phone and says, about $12 million. But what are we buying now? West Texas crude? And where do we buy it? Our hero replies, we'll buy it on the New York Stock Exchange. But why are you so excited? Considering we still don't know how this will turn out. Let's just put in about $300,000 at first. Tate replies, well, I want to buy more. Our hero asks him how much he wants to buy. He says that he will buy $10 million worth. Our hero replies, what? That much money? Are you crazy, man? Tate continues, okay, make it 5. Our hero asks him, man, you just got a hold of this money and you already want to throw it all away? Are you crazy? We're not certain about this. Tate tells him, didn't you say you predicted this? Jean replies and tells him, and since when has a prediction become a certainty? Tate finally gets annoyed with him and tells him he'll put in $3 million, and that's his final limit. Our hero agrees and thinks that the market expects the agreement to fail, and this has affected the prices, causing them to drop a lot. And even if they fail to cut production, there won't be a very big drop, meaning, if I'm wrong, the loss will be small. He calculates the money they will invest. It's about $3.3 million. And although our hero hasn't been following the market, and the information he has comes from an unconfirmed source, in the end, all he has to do is click his finger on the mouse, and the investment begins. Tate asks him, did you buy it? Our hero answers that he made the deal. Tate continues, asking what they'll do now. He replies, we'll wait until the OPEC meeting is over and see. And now we go to the new apartment that our hero got. It has 2 rooms and a living room, and it cost $120 million. And although the building is old, the wallpaper and flooring are new, and the apartment is clean, we see our hero carrying a box and asking his mom if she likes the place. She tells him she likes it very much because it has 2 rooms and sunlight comes in from everywhere. Our hero thinks that if he had paid more money, they could have gotten a better apartment. But he's happy because his mom liked the apartment. We see her opening the box containing a picture of his father, and he thinks every time they moved to a new apartment, the apartment would get smaller and smaller. And every time, the things that his mother kept as mementos of his father would get lost. The things inside this box are his father's picture and all of his mother's memories. With his father, it was his mother's dream to have a family home, and to achieve that dream, his father bought a piece of land and built a house on it. Even our hero was born there. It was the first house he ever lived in, and all the family's memories are in that house. There, our hero says, are you still thinking about Dad? His mother replies and says, of course. He worked so hard, but he left us too soon. If he were still alive, he would have seen days like today. Our hero looks at the picture in his mother's hand, and here, his mother begins to cry. She stands up and tells him, I have to clean the house. Look, Jean, go to your room now and arrange your things. Our hero agrees. After a while, we see him standing in the living room, thinking that there are things he needs to check on. He buys them right away, like the washing machine, the fridge, a table, and a bed. He goes to his mom and tells her, Mom, excuse me, can you take a break from work for a while? For the upcoming period? His mom replies, what are you talking about? My health is fine. Why do you want me to stay home? So our hero asks her, well, can you just take a 3-month leave? She agrees. His mom finally agrees, and our hero takes out an envelope and tells her, I put $100 million in this account. Keep it with you in case you need to spend anything or something. His mom is shocked when she hears the number, and she hits him hard on the head and says, so you suddenly got money, and now you're giving it away to everyone. He replies, who's everyone, Mom? What's the problem if I give you money? You're my mother. His mom replies, look, sweetie, this is your money, and you must save it to buy a house. or even save it for your wedding. Our hero smiles and tells her, well, please, just keep it with you. The mom finally agrees and tells him that he's as stubborn as his father. Our hero thinks that after giving her the 100 million he still has in his account, 275 million, and he'll pay about 100 million in taxes, but will still give him about 750 million. And so he won't have to worry for the next 20 years. He says to himself, if one can earn money this easily, time passes, and we see Take arriving at our hero's apartment and saying, I'm home, Mom. She greets him. Our hero's mom greets him and says, welcome, Take. Have you eaten? Take replies, holding bags in his hand, that he hasn't eaten anything yet. And since they were moving into the new house today, he will order food, and it's on him. Our hero takes the bags from him and says, seriously? A guy with all this money brings tissues as a housewarming gift. Take replies, what else was I supposed to bring? Our hero continues, bring something modest. Man, like a fridge, for example. A washing machine, a TV. Take shouts, Mom, your son is blackmailing me. After a while, our hero and his friend are sitting, talking about the news and the platform, as this platform was the largest cryptocurrency exchange in the world, and the scale of the damage after the hack was enormous, reaching up to $1 trillion. And, of course, in principle, it was supposed to compensate for these losses. But a sum like that was too large for it to handle alone. And that's what led it to start bankruptcy proceedings. Our hero asks, so what will happen to the Fancoin investors? Take replies, what do you think? They were all wiped out, of course. Of course, everyone. If this incident happened with a bank, one of the banks, the government would have intervened and prepared a compensation plan. But with Fancoin, of course, there is no administrative body. That's why there's no one to prepare a plan or offer compensation for the losses that occurred. All of them. Take then continues and says, but seriously, I can't believe how you were able to predict that Mountain Hill would go bankrupt. Our hero replies, it was just luck, although I did benefit from it. Take says, nothing happens by luck. If you ask me, I'll give you the answer. Our hero is surprised. Why? You have an idea? Take points at him and says, it's a superpower, and it awakened in you at a moment of crisis. That's how superheroes are born. Think about it. You won't find another answer. In short, it's the seer's eye. We can call it the magic eye. The magic eye. What do you think? Isn't it cool? Our hero is bewildered by his goofy friend and tells him, no, man, it's not cool. And in my opinion, you should sit and think and worry about the OPEC meeting instead of wasting your time on this silly talk. Take continues. The magic eye, then. I'm going to call it that from now on. Our hero tells him to stop talking. But if the OPEC meeting goes as he predicted, he might actually believe this. But so far, this thing has only happened twice. And if he was wrong, this time, it would just be his luck. And only that, just as the military doctor told him. Take replies, all right, we'll see if this OPEC thing turns out to be true. I'll call you the magic eye. Our hero tells him he can do what he wants. The next day, our hero goes to his friend and says, is there any news from Hyunjo about the organization's meeting? Take replies, she told me the result will be out tomorrow. Our hero is surprised, and he wonders if this is going well, though he has a bad feeling, and that the price they bought, it has dropped by 3%, and their loss is now about 100 million. He takes off his jacket and says to Take, are you okay? Take replies, well, we have the magic eye, don't we? So Jean tells him, it's become our magic eye. Is it now? Take gives him a PlayStation controller and tells him to play with him, and tomorrow they will know the result. They sit and play PlayStation, and Jean is thinking that he won 1.25 billion overnight, and that a sum like that isn't enough to live on for the rest of his life. And if he spends it all, he'll go bankrupt quickly because there are people who won the lottery, but after 10 years, they were begging. And to prevent that from happening to him, he must stay vigilant. But considering he now has this money, he doesn't need to look for another job. One day, our hero is sleeping, and Take wakes him up and says, Jean, wake up. The OPEC results are out. Our hero wakes up, startled, and they go online and check the news. And it's all about the OPEC production cut. And our hero says to himself, it's really happening. The production cut agreement. What's the price of Texas crude? Now, our hero looks at the price. It's $73, which means it rose 20% in the few minutes since the news broke. He tells Take, look at your account. I predicted there would be a production cut, but I don't know what will happen next. We have to sell everything. Take lies on the bed, working on his phone, and says, done, boss. Our hero asks him how much they won. After Take calculates it, he tells him $630,000. Our hero replies, if we calculate it in one, it'll be about 700 million. Take continues, so your share is about 600 million. So in the end, I have to give you 800 million. Our hero replies, I should have bought with 10 million. Here, Take tells him, everyone says that after they win. But anyway, this is the third time, right? Our hero is surprised by his words. So Take continues, whether the bomb would explode or not, whether they would go bankrupt or not, whether a production cut agreement would happen or not. This kind of thing happens only once or twice, but this is the third. And your prediction turned out to be right. Our hero replies, could it be that I have a superpower? Like the superheroes in comics and movies? Of course, when someone thinks of superpowers, they imagine the hero flying or destroying buildings with his hands or that. He can even move things with his eyes. And compared to these things, for a person to see the future is something worthless. But if we think about it, one can fly in an airplane, and one can demolish a building if they have an excavator, meaning any superpower can be replaced by machines that exist today. But for someone to be able to see the future, there is no machine or computer or even artificial intelligence that can predict the future. Never, because that is impossible. Take says, just imagine that you know the results of elections, sports, and natural disasters, and all things like that. Imagine if you could see the future in any field. Our hero then says to himself, this would be an unprecedented ability. Our hero looks at Take and says, when did this ability even start? Take replies, I told you before. It's a superpower that awakened in a moment of crisis, like the mortar shell incident. Our hero asks himself, what is the reason it appeared again in this recent period? Because if he was able to see these things before, he would have gone to the casinos on his vacation. And even if not a casino, there are many ways he could have made money. But after the day of the incident, the explosion, nothing happened. Maybe this is just a misunderstanding. And the days after that passed. So he says, well, I see these things now, but how? He continues thinking, I saw it when I was talking to you about Bitcoin and with my sister about the OPEC meeting. I don't know, but could it be an ability to see the future that's only related to money? Our hero replies, the idea is somewhat logical. But what about the explosion? Where's the money in that explosion? Take replies, maybe that was an exception, because the situation was threatening your life, for example. What happened after the explosion? The news didn't talk about it. We see Take pushing himself while sitting in his chair and goes to the computer and starts searching the news. And then he tells him, I knew it. This incident was related to corruption in military deals. The shell that exploded was defective from the start. And because of this, not only did the stocks of Huan Chemicals, which supplies the shells, collapse, but also the stocks of military contractors fell dramatically. Isn't that related to money? Our hero stands beside him and says, you're not wrong. But if you think about it that way, everything in the world is directly or indirectly related to money. Take replies, hey Gene, I've got a brilliant idea. What do you think? Our hero looks at him. When you say that, it usually ends up being something trivial. But go ahead, tell me. No problem. Although I have a bad feeling. Take tells him, I will provide the money, and you will provide the superpower. And let's invest and split the profits 50-50. What do you think? Gene replies, honestly, that offer is too good. I even felt it was suitable. But if we lose, will I also be responsible for half the loss? Take replies, do you even have money to be able to cover a loss? Look, if we don't do this, we won't be able to do anything. Our hero thinks that the loss would be covered entirely from the money that Take is saving for his wedding. Take continued, Look, this is basically a gamble, so that can't happen. Jean replies, if that's possible, then I'm definitely ready to work. But there's a big problem. Even if what you're saying is true and this is a superpower, there's no guarantee that what I see is all 100% correct. Isn't it possible that what appears to me are high-probability futures that appear randomly? An investment that is based on a prediction from the future is wrong. There must be a source of information and a reliable basis. I mean, without all that, the information will be useless. And even if the previous times were all correct, what guarantees us that the next times won't have an error? Just because all the ducks we see are white doesn't mean there are no black ducks, for example. Or what do you think if the next time the vision is wrong and we lose billions? Can we handle all that? Take replies to him. You're right. But if your superpower is real, this is a huge opportunity. You have the superpower and I have 13 billion. If we both team up, we'll make a fortune. Shake my hand, buddy. Shake my hand and let's enter the world of investment. Jean asks him if he won't shake his hand. Take answers him, but they won't see each other again then, and they'll lose. Our hero tells him, what a shallow friendship, man. Take keeps nagging him to agree, but suddenly, our hero's phone rings and he answers it. It's his friend, Young. He tells him, we're getting together with Hong for a drink. How about you come? Heard you finished your military service and wants to see you. Our hero accepts the invitation and asks him, when is it? So Young sets the time and place, and that they'll meet in an hour. Our hero stands up, puts on his jacket, and says, I have to go somewhere now. Let's talk later when I get back. Take tries to stop him, but our hero leaves. A little later, we see him entering the place his friend told him about. His friend waves at him. Our hero comes over and greets him. He sits with them, and the other friend stands up and says, I'd like to introduce you. These are our first-year university colleagues. Let me introduce you, everyone. Our friend, Jean, and he just finished his military service. The girls greet him, and the first one tells him her name is Shin, and the other one's name is Jai-Hai. He greets them. Our hero asks them about Hong. His friend replies that he'll be a little late because he has something to do. Hong asks him if he'll be returning to his studies. Our hero tells him that he's thinking about it. He continued to himself, now that I've solved the housing problem and tuition fees, it's better for me to graduate as soon as possible. Shin picks up the bottle and fills a glass for our hero, and they sit and drink. After a while, Hong arrives and greets our hero, saying, finally, Jean, you finally finished your military service. You should have called me when you were on leave. Jean replies, you were looking for a job, weren't you? Tell me, how are you doing? Hong tells him, I'm getting by. Maybe my situation is better than others, because the rest of our colleagues couldn't find a job at all. And you know the financial sector is reducing new hires, although commercial banks are doing well. But hiring in investment banks will also decrease next year because they are restructuring and reallocating. Their other colleague asks him, restructuring is the stock market not doing well? Hong deeply. It's because KYB and Duri are merging very soon, and they will be the biggest in the field, as they're the second and fourth largest companies. It's a great thing for banking services, but not good for the employees. That's how restructuring always is. It ends in a merger. Our hero asks, since he's considered a new employee, if this will affect him or not. Hong deeply, even the new employees are being asked to submit their resignations. Honestly, I'm worried, and the job isn't as fun as I expected. His friend says, let's quit. Well, if you resign, where will you go? Hong replies, saying he's thinking of getting into the stock market. Their friend says, I thought that once you get a job, life would be great and settled. But it seems that's not the case at all. Time passes as they sit and drink, and Hong says, look, what I want to tell you is that there are great entrepreneurs in this country, but there are no great investors. That's the truth. We need someone like that, someone who can compete with foreign capital, someone who makes profits. And then if the media drags them down, that's not a problem. But when will that day come? Where is the genius investor who will be? In Korea, we see Shin looking at her ringing phone. She answers it and says, "Yes? We're at the place with the guys. Come on in." Her friend asks her who she's talking to. Shin replies that she's talking to Sun, and that they were supposed to meet today, but she's coming here because she found out that she was sitting with everyone and drinking. The guys are shocked as soon as they hear Sun's name, and the most shocked one is our hero. Young tells her, "Why did you tell her to come?" She replies, "What's the problem? Can't I tell her to come?" Before Hong can speak, Sun enters the place and looks at them. Here, our hero stands up and looks at her, and their eyes meet. He realizes that she is his ex. A little later, we see them sitting in a cafeteria, talking. She tells him, "Sun, it's been 2 years. You finished your military service, and you did really well." Jean replies, "Yes, indeed. 2 years, and I was good in the army. Are you still with our upperclassmen?" Sun nods, confirming that he's right, and tells him they're also doing well together. And the person she's with, everyone, is named Young, who is a university DJ for a short time at the festival. He's the son of the owner of Gowl Construction. At that time, our hero saw him for a short while, and he had a nice personality, but not much time passed before our hero went to the army and heard from his friend Young that Sun had gotten together with him. Our hero looks at her and says, "You've changed a lot. You used to act so humbly." Sun replies, "Well, days go by, and I'm sorry for ending my relationship with you. While you were also in a difficult situation." Our hero tells her, "That's all in the past now and forgotten." Sun continues, "Jean, I really loved you. You might find this strange, but it's true. From the first moment I saw you, you were different from the rest, and I always felt your confidence, and I always felt safe. That's what made me love you." Our hero asks her, "Then why did you break up with me?" Sun answers, "I took the opportunity when it came to me." Jean is surprised. "What opportunity?" "The opportunity to be with a rich guy?" Sun continues, "I can't say anything to defend myself because I was the one who ended the relationship, but I wanted to achieve my dream." Jean continues, "Your dream? What are you talking about?" Sun stands up. She tells him she's leaving. Our hero gets up and asks her about the dream she was talking about. She looks at him, then leaves him and walks away. A little later, we see our hero sitting somewhere, thinking about the word success. You see, 2 years ago when his father died, and before they even held the funeral, they lost their house and all their relatives abandoned them. And from that day, Sun left him. In the midst of all this, he felt at that time that everything was collapsing around him. At that point, he picked himself up and joined the army. And his mother, who was left alone, had no choice but to work difficult jobs to support the household. But because of take, the country won $1.25 billion. And after that, he managed to make $60 million. And in a moment, the money was in his hands. He says success. Isn't that right? What do you mean by success? Or perhaps the billion and 300 million. Not enough to be called success. Suddenly, he sees the eagle perched on the chair opposite him. Our hero extends the cup in his hand and says to it, "You want a drink too? What are you going to show me this time?" The eagle, its eyes glowing, looks at him and flies above him. Our hero looks at it as it flies and says, "All right, this is my future." Time passes, and we see our hero in Take's apartment, trying to wake Take up. He says, "Hey man, leave me alone. I'm enjoying my sleep. If you're drunk, go home now." Our hero grabs his hand and says, "Now that I've held your hand, we're going to work together." Take asks him what they'll do, and he replies, "We're going to succeed." The next morning, our hero wakes up and says, "Ugh, my head is going to explode. Why did I sleep here?" Take replies, "You're awake. I ordered you a burger to sober you up for what you drank yesterday. What happened yesterday?" Our hero replies while eating, "I don't remember." Take is shocked and says, "What? Then, what about the promise you made me last night and our pact?" Jean continues, "All right, man, I remember, but let's talk after we eat. But tell me something, have you ever invested before?" Take says, "Of course not. The most I've done is bet on game shows. But aren't you going to join the Practical Investment Club or something like that?" Our hero replies, "Yes, I did some studies and a few investments, but at best, it was just $1 million and I lost half of it." He says, Take says that he studied business administration, so he must have learned something. But our hero answers that he only studied it for 1 year, and that regardless of the superficial theories, he learned a few things in the club. He asks him how much he has in his account now and take answers about 1.25 million. Our hero thinks that ordinary people will never see that amount in their lives. I wonder what they can do with all that money. Of course, everyone in investment, the size of the capital is very important. And for someone to make 100 million from 10 million, the return has to be 1,000%. But when they have 10 billion, a 1% return would be enough. And that's what allowed Take to easily win 700 million. It was because of the capital, but also the risk of a huge loss exists. Take asks, so what do we start with? Our hero replies, why do you want to invest 13 billion? You can live comfortably with it for the rest of your life. He replies, the more money, the better, right? He agrees. Our hero agrees with him and says that the feeling is enjoyable, like they're playing a game. But at the same time, that enjoyable feeling will disappear if they lose. Take asks, so what will you do? Is there something specific you want to do if you make money? He says, our hero says there's nothing specific and thinks that investing requires foresight, or it requires the eagle that appears to him. But he doesn't know when it will appear. And although he's not sure, he felt it was a reaction to learning specific information. He asked himself if he really knows what will happen in financial matters. As Take said, he says, first, we need information. The days pass, and we learned that our hero during this period was reading all the new economic articles and looking at stocks with a very high market capitalization listed on the stock exchange. Of course, in investing, information is as important as capital and the prices of stocks, oil, and gold. Exchange rates and bond yields all change depending on the information that comes out. And because these days, companies are publishing their operational results, their financial status, and all their news, this is the information that our hero is looking for. He can search for all the news, good and bad, related to the companies, but the information available to the public is of very little value. And of course, stocks rise with good news, and with bad news, they fall. After this period, we see our hero getting bored and saying, there's no reaction at all. I need insider information like from or OPEC. Take replies, take your time, my friend. Even if you have foresight, these things don't happen quickly. Jean replies, I feel like this is being neglected. He tells him, Take says, we should prepare the contract first. Our hero is surprised and asks him what he means. He replies, the contract that says we'll split the profits 50-50. My sister always used to tell me that the closer you are, the better and clearer things will be. They both sign the contract, and our hero stands up and tells him, I'm going to get coffee. Take asks him, isn't there any coffee at home? At that moment, our hero's phone rings, and it's an unknown number. He then answers it, and she asks. The girl calling asks if this is Jin's phone. Our hero answers, yes, this is Jean. Who's this? The girl replies, I'm Shin. Don't you remember me? And here our hero tries to remember her and asks himself if she's the same student with blonde hair who was with him at the bar yesterday. He says, yes, I remember you. Go ahead, is something wrong? She replies, how about, if you're not busy, we could have coffee together. Time passes, and we see our hero arrive at the cafeteria where he's supposed to meet Shin. Shin stands up, calls his name, and waves to him. After they sit down, she tells him, thanks for coming even though I called you so suddenly. Our hero replies, I was nearby at a friend's house. You seem like a member of the girl groups I used to see in the army. Shin replies, does that mean you think I'm beautiful? Our hero gets flustered and tries to change the subject, asking her what she's doing in Gangnam. She tells him she lives in the Cheongdam area and that he's lucky because his friend's house is in this area. He replies to her, yes, indeed. I was just coming down for coffee. Our hero thinks that a new university student living in Cheongdam alone. Her family must be rich. She continues, by the way, why did you want to meet? Shin replies, honestly, I wanted to apologize to you. I'm very sorry. I usually don't attend those kinds of gatherings much, so I didn't know. Shin tells him, don't worry, nothing happened. Shin continues again, I'm glad you say that. I was really worried when you left. By the way, are you returning to university next semester? He tells her he'll be back if no major problems arise. She tells him that they'll take classes together and asks him, suddenly, if he can do her a favor. He asks her, what kind of favor or service is this? Shin gets flustered, and our hero also thinks, wondering if the girl is about to confess her love for him. He starts thinking how he'll respond, as this is only their second meeting, so he can't accept this quickly. But she's very beautiful. Honestly, so much so that he can't refuse any request from her. Shin thinks for a moment and says, can you come with me to change my phone? Because I feel like they'll rip me off if I go alone. Our hero quickly replies, really? Let's go right away, come on. I don't know where my mind is taking me. She's surprised. Shin is surprised by his words and asks him, what are you saying? He tells her, nothing. It's just that I don't know much about electronics. Shin replies, no problem. Just you coming with me is enough for me. Our hero remembers that his friend Take is the expert in these things and spends a lot of money on them. And he surely knows everything about them, of course. Like, for example, new phones, specifications, and prices. A little later, we see them entering a store for phones, and he asks her, the store owner asks, if she's looking for something specific. She tells him she wants a Samsung device. The store owner replies, of course we have it. This phone is the best-selling phone these days. Shin continues her conversation with the store owner, and our hero is standing there, thinking, if someone wants to buy a phone, it's become so easy these days. But for Shin to ask him to come with her, so no one rips her off, even though she knows a lot of things, is strange. And he asks himself why she wanted him to come with her. He decides to look at the devices himself, which are available in the store. He holds the phone in his hand and says, isn't this the one I used to use before I joined the army? Wow, now, it runs so fast. At that moment, the eagle appears suddenly in the store and flies over our hero, just like every time. It leaves behind some letters that tell him the phone version is limited, and our hero is surprised because he doesn't understand anything from this message. Shin comes and asks him what's wrong, why he's staring at the ceiling. He tells her he saw a fly and thinks that the eagle has finally appeared. A little later, we see them walking in the street, and Shin says, I got the blue one because there was no gold or pink, but honestly, I like this color. And since the device is new, I have to take care of it. He replies to her, Jean, they'll probably stop this model soon. By the way, Shin is surprised. She asks him why that would happen, and he continues, hey, I'm just kidding with you. Look, I have to go now. See you later. Shin is surprised why he suddenly left early. She then says to him, what's the problem? I was going to treat you to something to thank you. Our hero arrives at his friend's house and calls out to him. He says, hey, what's up, man? What's all this noise you're making? He replies, Samsung phone, S6L. Take picks up his pink phone and says, are you talking about this device? He replies, yes, that's it, but it's color. Why is it like that? He says, Take says he loves the color pink very much and asks him if he saw that they're going to discontinue this device. Our hero tells him he doesn't know much other than that information. Of course, everyone, as you know, the Samsung company makes a wide range of phones, starting from the cheapest thing to the most expensive thing, which are very advanced. And as for the series, it's the most famous series from Samsung. And you surely know there are competing companies, like the company, of course, which is currently dominating the market with smartphones. Of course, the series from Samsung is the one that has flooded the markets. Now, but in terms of sales, the Apple company is the one that's ahead by a large margin. And this is what made Samsung make a device. And this, of course, Samsung, to compete with Apple. Some people even say this device is better than Apple's. And because of these reviews, as soon as the device hits the market, it sells out immediately. Even the previous model sold a total of 50 million units, and the new device is expected to exceed 70 million in sales. Take says it will likely sell well all over the world. So Gene asks him, then what's the reason that could make them stop it? Take answers. Maybe because of patents, for example. They say there are more than 200,000 patents in a single phone. And as for Samsung, it's very famous for making phones. That's why there are always disputes regarding patents. In many countries, especially as soon as the new phone hits the market, the whole patent issue with Apple is a very famous topic. It's considered the lawsuit of the century. Jean replies, even if they lose the patent case, in the end, they pay damages, fees, and fines. But I don't think that will stop the sales. Tate continues, look, regarding patents, Samsung has the upper hand. Of course, guys, compared to Apple, which started in the phone manufacturing business, and many companies followed it into the field. But Samsung has been manufacturing phones since the second generation, so it has a large number of patents in telecommunications and technology. And even if there was a dispute over patents with a design from Apple, Samsung always managed to get out of the problem easily. And after that, it succeeded greatly in this field. Take then continues and says, so what could possibly happen? Jean responds, the core issue is the reason for the halt and when it will happen. But is there a problem related to Samsung products that will cause this halt? Take answers him. As far as I know, no. And even if there's a problem with the phone, they'll fix it or offer compensation. So there's no logical reason to stop production. We all know this, guys. And this is especially true for a new phone. If it has new features, it's natural to have system problems with a device. If every company were to stop the production of a phone after every problem, then factories would stop working. Jean looks at the phone and thinks that from the company's point of view, they surely wouldn't do anything that would cause them a loss. He asks himself what reason would stop the production of a device with such great performance. Time passes, night comes, and suddenly, Take screams. So Jean asks him, what's wrong? We see Take standing on the bed, pointing at the phone and saying, it was next to my head and it exploded. Jean asks, what could possibly make a phone explode? I was charging it while playing. Take continued, but it suddenly exploded. It exploded while I was asleep, even though the phone and charger are genuine. But what kind of phone is this that explodes after just 1 week? Is it a bomb or what? Jean replies, if I had known about this, I wouldn't have let her buy something like this bomb. Here, they suddenly fall silent and look at each other shocked, and they turn to look, both of them, at the device that exploded. A little later, we see them sitting at the computer, and Take says, I searched for it, and an explosion happened before, and the explosion happened 3 days after the device's release. They even posted the picture online. And it happened the same way when the device was on the charger, like my phone. And of course, because Samsung responds quickly, they covered up the matter. Although after that, there were posts talking about the same problem. Jean tells him, if we count the unreported cases, we'll find there are many, right? Take replies, look, from the company's perspective, they don't want to talk about this. And this issue is very common. But if they try to silence people, they'll silence them with financial compensation. Jean asks him what the company said about the cause of the explosion. Take continues, saying that there was an external cause. But generally, phones exploding is something that happens. However, the problem is the rate, which differs. One device exploding out of 1 million, or one device out of 10,000. No, there's a difference here. And there were minor issues besides the explosions, but they didn't affect sales. And even though Apple released the 7, it will remain dominant in the market. Here, Jean asks him, was there a problem in the manufacturing process? He answers, it's impossible for Samsung to make a mistake that a small company wouldn't make. But in any case, this is an opportunity. We found some good information. Jean replies, wait, if Samsung announces it's stopping production of the device, then everything will be over. The Bitcoin issue wasn't an investment we were avoiding. Risk, and even if Mountain Hill didn't go bankrupt, we wouldn't have lost anything. But the situation here is different. If the investment were small, we wouldn't be thinking about this. Seriously, let's assume that the halt in manufacturing is a sure thing. This is what we need to make a profit. We need to know when the halt will happen and the effects that will follow. So then we can decide how to invest. Let's monitor the situation for a few more days. One day, a Samsung employee is at their house and tells them that he will inform them of the cause after they investigate. As for compensation, one of the important conditions to get the compensation is that they don't publish any information about the explosion online until the investigation results are out. After the employee leaves, we see Gene standing at the window and saying, "It seems there are quite a few incidents like this." The person who came wasn't a delivery man. He was a company employee, and he wasn't surprised after seeing the condition of the device. And from what I saw, it seemed there were more explosions than what was reported online. Of course, guys, if this issue was just a minor flaw in the device, no matter what, they wouldn't stop production. But this explosion story is a completely different matter. Guys, phones are particularly sensitive, especially when the matter is related to safety. We see the employee putting the bag in the car, and here it opens, and the bag is full of many devices. Gene thinks if his friend had been sleeping on the phone, he would have been injured by the explosion. And if these explosions keep happening, then that's the reason to stop production. He says Samsung's annual profit is more than 30 trillion won, and this profit comes from everything the company does, and about 40% of the profit comes from phones. So if they stop production, then they will lose 40% of their profits too. Take replies to him. It won't be that bad, because they have a large selection of mid-range, low-end, and older models. But the company will definitely be hurt. I mean, if we think about the money that will be paid for each device, it will be around 6 trillion. And if we look at the expected losses from the devaluation of the brand, then the losses will be multiples of that. Gene tells him, the problem is how we invest. If we knew good news, then we could buy shares. But since we know bad news, the options are limited. Take replies. Isn't this called short selling? Gene replies confidently, exactly. Considering that the company is foreign, it will be a very easy matter. A foreign investor, because short selling is not a difficult subject, because normal stock investment is you buy, then you sell. As for short selling, you borrow the shares, sell them, and then buy them back at a cheaper price and profit. But the problem is the profit margin. Gene thinks that if he sells short, then he will sell the shares for 100 million and buy them back for 10 million. But no stock will reach that level. Even if they stop production, the stock will fall. It will fall between 20 to 30%. He then says, so we will invest 13 billion to make 3 or 4 billion. This profit is huge. But if it were a little more, I wonder, is there no way to earn more? Take ask him about futures and options. He answers. Gene says he doesn't know much about them because the little money he had in the investment club didn't let him get close to the market. And he thinks, now we have $12.5 million. And that's enough to try. Seriously, he continues. We need someone who knows financial derivatives, financials, but not Hyunju. Take ask him, and why can't she do it? Gene replies, if you ask me what we're relying on when we deal with futures, contracts, and options, we won't reach a good answer. He says, well, then that's it. You can tell her that you trust your insight. Gene replies, why do you always underestimate Hyunju's judgment in situations like these? Anyway, I know someone, Park. He was the former president of the investment club, and some people described him as a madman. Of course, some people, not all of them. Let's talk to him, because this guy is truly a genius. Of course, guys, geniuses are of two types. One who excels at everything, and the other who excels at only one thing. And Park is of the second type, because Park was born in Australia, and because of that, English was not a problem for him, and his results in school were below average. But the reason he got into university as a student was that he was a gifted student, because he was a math prodigy. And in his first year at university, he was accepted into the fourth year and had an obsession with the problem posed by the professor. And on that day, he stopped eating and sleeping for 3 days and was able to solve this problem. After that, by chance, he joined the investment club and became interested in the stock market. While he was dabbling in mock investments, a small company called QMK Tech caught his attention, and because he's a person like no other in mathematics, he was able to predict a 10-fold increase in the company's stock price, and he didn't miss the opportunity. He took out a deposit of about 5 million and bought all of the company's shares. After 2 weeks, the company's shares rose very significantly, and within 2 months, the stock price became 10 times higher. And so the 5 million became 50 million. And from that day, after this success, Park left everything and focused on analyzing the company. And although he suffered from losses sometimes, he was making profits constantly. And by the time Gene entered the club, Park's money had reached 300 million. And an amount like this, they can't do it. Ordinary university students. But someone like Park felt regret because of his first investment fund. If he had invested 100 million at that time, he would have earned about 5 billion. And that's what made him. In order to earn higher returns, he started to research and analyze the options market. And after he became confident, there was a stock that caught his attention, and it was a chemical materials company. And at that time, he decided that its value was very undervalued and expected it to double. And here he sold all his shares and started to buy options for chemical companies. But after a few days, a disaster happened, and one of the employees was a victim of email phishing, and the money was transferred to the wrong account. And because of that, 20% of the chemical company's profits were lost, and it was about $27 million. And this caused the company's shares to fall. And all the shares that he bought, Park dropped in an instant. But instead of Park stopping this deal, he borrowed from banks at the highest legal interest rate to buy more shares. And on the last day of the loan's deadline, the stock price didn't go up. And at that time, Park was an investor of more than 300 million in the company. And when he couldn't pay the loan, the interest started to grow. And since then, Park disappeared. But after a while, the company's shares rose again. And if Park had bought the actual shares, an investment of 300 million would have become 700. But he entered into futures contracts, and that's what made him earn nothing. We see Gene and Take sitting with Park, who says, "Oh, Gene, it's been a long time since we've met." He replies, "How are you? Honestly, it was very hard to get your new number." Park continues, "I'm sorry, but are you sure there's no problem if we eat? But who is this person with you?" Gene replies, "This is my friend, Take." Park says, "Isn't this your friend who bought Bitcoin in school? A very bad thing. If one had known to buy from the beginning, he would have been rich." Now, he asks him, "Gene, what was he doing since he took a leave of absence?" He answers, I try to work anything. I worked in construction and driving and things like that. And now I'm teaching math in school to students who will go to university. But since I started working, and the money I was making was in a difficult way, and this way made me feel the value of money, and I still have about 2 million in debt, and I need to work for a few months like this in order to pay them off. Gene thinks that someone like him who is earning in the billions, and overnight he became in debt, and if anyone were in his place, he would have given in to despair. But Park is a different and unusual person, and he asks Park why Gene wanted to meet him. Gene answers, "I wanted to know about futures and options." Park replies, "You mean you want to get into this field?" He answers. Gene says he's really thinking about it. Park continues, "You know that futures and options are both derivatives, and you know the difference between them, right?" And Park starts to explain to Gene the subject of futures contracts, that it is done by agreement between the buyer and the seller on a specific date for the end of the deal, and they agree on a fixed price. And at the end of the deal, if the price increases, the one who bought will profit. As for options, it's a process of selling the right to trade, and it also depends on a specific time. And of course, the investor has the option to buy. He will be a seller or a buyer. And here Take asks, is the option basically the premium? Well, doesn't that put the seller in a bad position? Park continues, that's one of the fun things about options. But in the market, the win rate is higher for the option seller. Of course, there's always a great risk, which is why they are structured in a certain way. He continues, so, from a buyer's perspective, you have a put option, which wins if the price goes down, or a call option, which wins if the price goes up, right? Park replies, that's more or less correct. He begins to explain the details of options and how the process works. Our protagonist holds a notebook and pen, writing down everything Park says. Park tells him, if the buyer buys $1 billion worth of these options, they could potentially win $9 billion. Of course, something like this doesn't happen. In reality, it's always the bad news that happens instead of the good news. And if things like this don't happen, prices go up a lot, and the option seller has to pay the money. Take says, "Thanks, Park. I feel like everything I learned, in theory, is becoming practical now." He replies, "I advise you not to play with options. But what are you trying to do exactly? Because I don't understand." Our protagonist tells him, "Samsung." He asks, our protagonist if it's a sell or a buy operation. Our protagonist replies that it's a sell. Park asks why. They just released a device to the market and it's doing well. This 6. Our protagonist replies, they will discontinue it. Park asks if he's talking about the explosion problem that's happening with the device. He replies, if these explosions continue, shouldn't they discontinue the device? Park asks him, is that all you have? No other evidence? I mean, our protagonist thinks that he can't explain everything. Park continues, by the way, if you get into options the wrong way, you could lose everything just like I did. A little later, we see them saying goodbye to Park, and our protagonist says to his friend, did you hear what he said? You'll lose everything in one deal. Do you still want to go through with this? Take replies, of course. What do you think? Our protagonist thinks and tells him, let's give a shot. Of course, folks, based on the information our protagonist and his friend had, they were thinking about an investment strategy. I mean, if the phone's production is halted, they have 2 options. The first one has low risk, but also low profit. And the second one has high risk, but its profit is very big. And here a protagonist says, let's buy 70% in put options, and the rest we'll use for short selling. Even if the profit is small, we must prepare for the worst. Our protagonist sees, based on statistics, and considering the company's profits are now due to the new phone, that the company's stock will fall by the same amount after the device is discontinued, which is 20%. Take says, a new explosion happened in America, and the phone wasn't even on the charger. This whole thing has become dangerous. And here the news started, talking about the device and the company. The company says that the explosion was due to an external factor, and the company promised that it will conduct an investigation into the matter. Of course, after what happened, the explosion in America, that's when all the media outlets started talking about this issue. Take asks, where is the options trading system? Our protagonist answers that it's on the system. Our protagonist thinks that out of all the money, he has 800 million. And even though Take said he would handle the whole investment himself, as long as they decided to invest together, our protagonist decided to put in his 800 million. He presses the keyboard and executes the contract. There are 800 million left in the account, so he asks him. Take asks why he wasn't buying more. He replies, let this money be our living expenses. Of course, the idea in our protagonist's mind is that the 800 million will support them for a certain period. And now, all they can do is wait for the result. But contrary to all expectations, Samsung's stock price rose by 8% within 2 days. And of course, for our protagonist and his friend, this is a loss. A loss in short selling, or even in put options, which is considered a bigger loss. Take is playing PlayStation, very tense. At the same time, our protagonist sees that he is quiet, but he looks worried. And of course, the rumors were that Samsung said it would replace the device's battery. And despite the stock price rising, there were 10 more explosions. Take says, tomorrow they'll halt production, won't they? Our protagonist replies, it has to happen. He continues in his head. Everything must happen according to the plan. Time passes, and we see Samsung held a big press conference, and the hall is full of journalists. And the head of public relations appears at the conference, and his speech is about the device, that the cause of the explosion is the battery. That's why they promised the people who bought it that they will compensate them and replace their batteries. They also did a full recall of 6 million device units. We see our protagonist and his friend watching the news, shocked. Take says, this is a recall, not a production halt. What does this mean? Of course, the posts on social media were very happy with Samsung's recall decision. Despite replacing 6 million devices, this is considered a loss, worth 6 trillion. But there was talk that the loss wouldn't be that big if they resold the devices that were returned after replacing the batteries. Of course, after the recall announcement, the stock value dropped by 1.5%. And here the company announced a policy of returning profits to shareholders, including quarterly dividends. And this is considered a way of crisis management in big companies. And that made the company's stocks start to rise again. And here the loss for our protagonist and his friend reached half the value, meaning about 6 billion. We see Take walking, laughing like a madman, and saying, "The money is flying away. The money is flying away." Our protagonist is sitting, very tense, and telling himself, "I never imagined it would ever come to this, even though we agreed that we would split the profits. In reality, the one who will bear the losses, Take alone. I can't afford this loss at all. But why did they do a recall and not halt production? What did I miss?" Time passes for us, and we see our protagonist lying in bed, thinking that the sum of 6 billion will let someone live a good life for many years, and to recover from a loss like this, they must make a profit of 100%. But the bigger problem was that this wasn't the end, because after the options expiration date, all these billions will vanish. And he's thinking now, what will he do in this situation? Even though, for example, he could pull out since he's able to, with a minimal loss. He feels like fear is suffocating him. And here Take sits up, and our protagonist, at the same moment, says to him, "Are you awake?" Take replies, "I woke up because of your voice. How about we grab a beer?" A little later, we see them somewhere, and Take is asking if Samsung's stock price will go up more. Our protagonist says he doesn't know. He continued in his head, "Everyone worries if the stock price goes down. Except for us, we worry if the price goes up. But there's one thing I know well, that the device's production will be halted." Our protagonist asks his friend if he blames him. Take replies, "And why would I blame you?" Our protagonist continues, "I mean, it wouldn't have happened if I hadn't predicted this and told you." Take replies, "What are you saying? I was the one who suggested investing in the first place, and it's not over yet. Maybe the recall won't solve the problem." He thinks. Our protagonist thinks that the company said the battery was the problem. But if the battery wasn't the problem, then things would be different, and the story needs some time. And at the same time, the options expiration doesn't have much time left. A week after Samsung's announcement, the recall began. And at the same time, 30,000 new sales happened in one day, and all the beneficiaries of the recall were satisfied, and that made the company's price rise once again. This means that the loss for our protagonist and his friend is increasing to more than 10 billion, folks, and what's left is only 3.5 billion. You see them in a terrible state. Take stands at the window and says, "I can't believe that the money I made from Bitcoin is gone just like that. Bye-bye, 13 billion. Bye-bye." He remembers. Our protagonist remembers that the options they bought for billions are now worthless. And although there's 3.5 billion left, it's no consolation at all. And he even lost 600 million. And next week, if nothing happens, the option will expire. And it will have been a wrong prediction that caused this disaster. He remembers Park's words when he warned him if he were to work with options, because it could lead him to his state. Take continues, "I should have invested all the money in the OPEC meeting. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I lived my life just fine before I had this money." And we go now to a plane in the sky. We see a flight attendant telling people to move away, holding a fire extinguisher and putting out something on the floor. Someone is injured and screaming, and a flight attendant is treating him. We see a phone device on the floor after it exploded, and a boarding pass dated December 9th. And here a protagonist wakes up suddenly and sits up, saying, "What a strange dream." His eyes flash, and he clutches his head and screams. Take comes over and asks him, "What's wrong? Are you okay?" Our protagonist replies, 4 days from now, something will happen in 4 days. That will halt the production of the 6. Take asks, looking at his phone, "Are you sure it's 4 days?" He replies, "If I really have a superpower, then the answer is yes." And he goes to the computer to check the news. Our protagonist continues. After the device was working and connected to the charger, it caught fire. And this incident happened at a Samsung group facility. Take tells him that article about the investigation was written 2 hours ago. Jean replies, "But they're saying the problem is external, not from the device. And if They were so confident they wouldn't have continued with this story. Could the problem be an external factor? But I can't stop thinking about Yogi Berra's quote that says, "It ain't over till it's over." Of course, folks, Samsung said the cause of the explosion in the device was the battery. And at that time, they replaced all the batteries, but an explosion happened again. And that means either someone is trying to blackmail them, or there's really another problem with the device. Our protagonist stands up then and says, let's see what happens in the 4 days to come. The 4 days pass, and at 8 in the morning, news breaks about the flight that was forced to turn back for an emergency landing because of a phone explosion, and it was a Samsung model, and the passenger who was carrying the phone in his pocket suffered burns on his leg and fingers. Of course, this news reached all media outlets around the world, and all airline companies in America banned the 6 device from flights, aviation, and at 8:30 in the morning, an emergency meeting at the company headquarters, and as soon as the market opened, at 9 o'clock, the company's stocks began to fall to a level of 10%, and before noon, it reached 16%. We see our protagonist and his friend watching the news. Take says, the experts are saying this is the right time for people to buy the stock. Jean replies, if what they're saying is true, then let them buy. A little, no problem. Of course, folks, the institutions were selling the stocks en masse, but individual investors were being encouraged to buy, and they are not stupid, but they saw it as the market's game. So there's no scenario where the company would go bankrupt. We go now to the company headquarters in the meeting room, and we see all the directors are present. The vice president enters and says, let's start the meeting. You all know what the situation is. Now, I thought that the cause of the explosion was the battery, which we replaced. Despite that, another explosion happened in the product. He replies, the head of the electronics division, that they are investigating the explosion. That happened. The vice president asks him how long it will take for the results to come out. The division head continues that they will need a week and maybe even more. And for the results to be accurate, they need to take their time. And if there was a problem with them recalling the product again, then that could happen. The director of the planning office says, at this time, we will try to buy time and recall the phones. And during this period, we must find a solution to the problem. Of course, they are all talking about time and what is the most suitable way to solve it. The vice president sees that the process of withdrawing the phones from the market is a good thing, but it won't convince customers because this problem happened a second time after maintenance, and he's not sure if they will be able to find the reason that's causing the explosions in time or not. And he already knows that there is another way, but no one dares to say it. He thinks about what decision his father would have made if he were here, because this company was founded by his grandfather and grown by his father. But after his father fell ill, he became responsible for the company. He looks at the boat model placed on its side. He says to himself, this company is like the ship of Theseus. Theseus returned to his country safely on the ship, and on that day the people of Athens preserved this ship. And when a wooden plank would rot, they would remove it and replace it with a new one after 1,000 years, and replacing all the worn-out parts. It became very difficult to find the original parts, and no one knew anymore if this ship was the original or a different ship. The same story is told about our company, because Samsung was founded after the Korean War. All the companies in Japan, none of the employees who used to work back then are present now. Not even the products that were made at that time are we making now. Even the company's headquarters and factories have moved. Everything has changed, and yet Samsung Electronics is still the same. So what is it that defines a company's identity? It's all the ideas that come together like a network. And here, the vice president makes an immediate decision. We will stop manufacturing. We will recall all products that were sold, and we will provide liquidity to compensate those affected. Of course, this halt is the worst-case scenario, one that nobody could have imagined. The compensation amounts will come from sales revenue, and the most important idea now is that they must focus on increasing sales in the future to preserve the company's reputation. The vice president slams his hand on the table and says, regardless of the money we lose, we can earn it back. But if the company loses trust, that will be the end. We lost trust once due to a production issue, and we lost it again when we performed maintenance, and there was no solution. This is our last chance. The PR manager stands up and says he will prepare a conference to announce this officially, and at 1:45 p.m., the director appears at a press conference and says they will stop production of the device because their top priority is customer safety and that they are investigating the issue that caused the explosions. We see our hero and his friend watching the news. The reporters keep asking the director who made that decision what the plan is moving forward and how much they'll lose from this decision. Here, our hero and his friend look at each other and scream. In unison, their voices reach the street. Production has stopped. We see everyone shocked by the news. Everyone is selling their shares. Even the individual investors who were buying are now selling. Samsung stock is plummeting at a terrifying rate. News reports that, according to experts, the expected loss after halting production will reach 50 trillion. This was the lowest point for Samsung since the financial crisis in 2008. Here, the Korean stock market, the companies and the investment funds were all in chaos. And that day was the Black Tuesday. That would be recorded in the history of the Korean stock market. We now go to a company. The director says, "What are you saying? I must have misheard you." An employee replies, "The amount of the loss from Samsung will exceed expectations 1,000 times over." It seems that before the incident happened, they were gathering information about Samsung from the Golden Gate. The director says, "Golden Gate, so they had prior information?" The employee replies, "No, because Golden Gate also suffered damages." The director asks him, "So they shorted through Golden Gate? They must have made a lot." The employee replies that Golden Gate's group isn't saying much. The director gets angry and slams the table. He says, "Is investing a child's game? What kind of crazy people would put in billions without any credibility? Go and find out for me. Find out if they got inside information." An employee runs to follow the instructions. The director asks, "Who are these people?" We see our hero and his friend watching the Samsung stock as it plummets at a terrifying speed, and their profits are soaring from the sheer shock. They both stood there stunned, not understanding what was happening. Their profit percentage keeps increasing more and more. Out of shock, we see Tae kick a chair. Our hero runs, grabs a box of tissues and starts throwing them in the air. And we find Tae tripping over the chair and hitting the wall. And the profit percentage that our hero and his friend reached is more than 5,000%. And so the disaster for everyone else became a blessing for them. The 13 billion they invested made them 50 times that, becoming around 600 billion. Tae says, "I love you, my friend. We're rich." Jean replies, "You idiot. You were already rich." Until this moment, our hero and his friend were billionaires, and now they've become multibillionaires. After a while, we see Tae looking at the number they won, which is 685 billion. He says, if the stock had dropped even more by the time the deal closed, we would have won a huge prize. Jean replies, "We would have easily hit 1 trillion then." Tae continues, "So how much do you want from me?" We agreed to split the profits, so I'll subtract the 13 billion from the total. That leaves you with 336 billion. Right? Jean says to himself, if you stack that money up, it will be as tall as a tower. He continues his thoughts. When I left the army, I was broke and worried about my future. But now, I have all this money. Can I really hold all this money in my hands? I only had 800 million. At first, if we had lost this deal, Tae would have suffered greatly. Just a few days ago, he was about to bear a loss of 10 billion all by himself. I feel guilty if I take half the profits now. Tae says to him, "What? You're not going to take it? If you don't want it, I'd be very grateful." Our hero tells him, "No, you idiot, that's not it. I saw something in the past." He replies, "Anyway, if I were alone, I would have lost 13 billion, and I wouldn't have known how to make the amount I have now. And indeed, this was the agreement between our hero and his friend. Our hero brings the information, and Tay comes in with the money. And this was Take's idea from the beginning, that they'd split the profits 50-50, even though, in this day and age, people like Take are very rare. Truly, they are. Our hero says to himself, now I understand how important foresight was. All I saw was that they would halt a phone's production, and I made billions from it. So what if I foresaw an economic crisis or a war, or even a natural disaster? How much would I make then? Take says, just in case, we have to keep this a secret. But if this gets out, would intelligence agencies take me then? Of course, our hero considers Take a very trustworthy person, second only to his mother, and the matter of foresight could be a threat to him, so he can't tell anyone. Take approaches him, showing him the tablet, and says, by the way, we've made a fortune, my man. Jean replies, believe me, when I hear that, I feel worried. Is it okay for us to profit from a national crisis? Of course, our hero's words are right, because exports from Samsung will decrease in this, will create a deficit in the trade balance. And in contrast to what happened with Samsung's stock, an American company and another Chinese company's stocks went up. So Take tells him, but my friend, we're not the ones who stopped the manufacturing. And that's also a valid point of view. You know, they didn't do anything wrong. Samsung's stock hit rock bottom, and also the Kospi and Kosdaq indices dropped sharply at a time when people are suffering from losses. Others are profiting, but this time, the only ones who won were our hero and his friend. Take continues, regardless of what happened, we're rich now, and all thanks to your foresight. Jean replies, forget about the foresight for now. In the end, if it weren't for your investment, this foresight would have been nothing. It would have been useless, and we would have missed a great opportunity. Even if we had the information, who are the people who would invest 10 billion? Take thinks and answers him. I'll take that as a compliment, my friend. By the way, how are you going to receive the money? If you take it into your account, the taxes will be astronomical. Jean tells him, if I receive it in my account, the taxes will be around 150 billion, and I would also have to provide proof of the source of the funds, which is something I can't do. So Take asks him if he wants to take the money in cash. He replies, you mean I can withdraw 336 billion from a bank? Are you kidding? You know, in my entire life, I never imagined I'd be thinking about a problem like this. I wonder, what do I have to do about the taxes? Do you think I could start a company? Take asks him, so what are you going to do with all this money? He tells him, our hero says he doesn't know, and asks what he will do with it. Take replies that he doesn't know either. Isn't it a shame for it to end like this? I mean, 13 billion became 670 billion. And if I invest this money again, I could make an even larger amount, right? Our hero tells him, when the capital grows larger, it becomes harder to make more money at once. But surely, if we are to make a profit, we will make a fortune. Of course, modern society is purely a developed capitalist society, and any person can move the world with money, and money can also save lives. Our hero and his friend made their money. If they kept spending it their whole lives, it wouldn't run out. Our hero wonders if this is enough, and that they should now stop and be content with what happened to them. Because there was something our hero saw that he didn't want to tell his friend about, and that was when he said that this was his future. That vision was that our hero would become the CEO of OTK company. Our hero extends his hand to his friend and says, give me your hand. Take is surprised and says, and what will happen if I take it? He replies and tells him to go with him to the end. Take asks him what if he refuses to take it. Our hero answers that he will continue alone. Of course, you know, the CEO of any company doesn't have to be the largest shareholder. Take says and puts his hand in our hero's hand. I don't know where we'll end up, but let's continue together. Our hero says to himself, this means we will manage a company together. The truth is, our hero was able to find a way to solve the problem of dividing the money, because if the money stays outside the country, there's no need for them to pay taxes in Korea. As for distributing the shares of the company, they were able to distribute them as gifts because the state where the company is located does not impose taxes on gifts. Our hero is talking with Take and says, What do you think? Were you listening to me? Take replies. Do you still have the contract I gave you? Our hero replies and says, it's in his wallet. Take asks him to give it to him. Take takes the contract and tears it up. Our hero is shocked and says, what are you doing? Take answers. I thought about it again. Splitting it. 50-50 is not logical. How about we make it 80-20? Our hero looks at him and says in his mind, he doesn't seem to be joking, and that means he wants me to take 20%. In a world where money can kill people, it's not strange for feelings to change in the face of billions. But Take is not the kind of person to do that. Our hero stands up and tells him, all right, as long as you want it this way, then. Take interrupts him and says, you take 80%, and I'll take 20. Our hero is shocked and says, what are you talking about? He continues, just as I said, you get 80%, and I get 20%. Jean replies to him, you must have eaten something bad, right? Is something wrong with your head, man? Take replies, I'm talking to you with a clear head. The ratio will be like this. Our hero is surprised. Weren't you just talking a moment ago about splitting it 50-50? What happened all of a sudden? Take replies, that's true. But just now, you said we're going all the way, right? And considering you have the foresight, you'll be making money until you get tired of it. Up until now, I provided the capital, and you provided the foresight. But now, you're the one with the capital. And what will happen later is that you'll be doing everything, and we split the money in half. That's not logical. Our hero thinks that his friend's words are right. He could invest on his own now. But despite all that, he contacted him and decided to continue with him because he saw it as a better way, regardless of their friendship. And as for the tens of trillions moving in the market, every day then, the money they earned is a small amount. Our hero replies, so you're giving up 30% of the shares. That's more than 200 billion. He says, I said that investing is putting money in a place to profit from it, right? So I want to invest in you, meaning if I give up 200 billion, now 20% of a company's profits will be mine, right? Our hero tells him, but what if I can't make any money in the future? He says, it doesn't matter. In the end, I won't be able to spend all this money before I die. And I don't deny that I made all this money because of you. Besides, I'm not just going to invest once or twice, and that's it. I'm going with you to the end. As long as you're going to be the leader, then you're going to need all these shares. Our hero sits opposite him and says, if 80% of the shares are going to be mine, then I'll be the one managing the company. Take says, since you're studying management, you should learn it well. Our hero immediately replies, dude, I told you I studied it for a year. You think I have a master's degree? Take replies and says to him, anyway, my friend, as of right now, you're the CEO of the company. Our hero tells him, are you sure you won't regret this decision? Take replies and tells him that he won't regret it. He feels ashamed. Our hero for doubting his friend a moment ago. And when he heard about investing together, he thought it was nonsense. He remembers when Take was talking about the magic eye and foresight, and in the end, his words turn out to be true, and that he saw the situation more objectively. And so, the issue of the shares was resolved, and our hero became the CEO of the company. After a while, our hero stands next to his friend who is playing on the PlayStation and tells him, I was just thinking about it. The holiday is really close. So he asks him, Take asks him what he did for the last holiday. Our hero replies that he was clearing snow at the military base. He then asks him what he did for the holiday. Take replies that he went out to have dinner with his mother. Our hero remembers that last year he was worried about his mom because she would spend the holiday alone, which is what made him call his friend Take so that he would go and have dinner with her, as he's the only one who looks after his mom. He tells him, transfer me now the 800 million that you moved to Korea to my account. Take replies, no problem, but can I get all this money at once? Jean tells him, we need to handle the taxes properly. Let's sort out the tax issue for the 500 million you transferred before. We need to be aware of any problems that might come up later. Here, Take starts searching and says, where's the paper my sister gave me last time? Ah, here. Take it. But what are we going to do with the money now? Jean says, I'm thinking of going out for a bit. Maybe buy some holiday gifts And so, our hero goes out and enters a real estate office. Inside, an agent is thinking that this month has been slow and she needs to make a deal so she can pay the rent. She immediately gets up and welcomes our hero, saying, "Welcome. It's cold outside, isn't it? Please have this drink. It's freshly made and hot." He thanks her, and the agent thinks that our hero looks like a student from a university looking for a studio to live in, and that the commission would be small. But this is no time for her to be picky with clients, as she needs any money she can get. She tells him, "You're looking for a studio or a room, right? I have a really nice room for you that you'll love. It's in a new building, and the owner is a nice man, and the rent won't be high." Our hero replies, "No, I'm looking for a house, not a room. The prices, what are they like right now?" The agent is confused and tells him, "You want a house?" Our hero cuts her off, saying, "I don't want to rent. I want to buy a house." The agent is stunned, wondering how a university student wants to buy a whole house. She tells him, "Okay, well, the prices depend on the location and size. In the building, there are some for 300 million, and there are luxury ones for about $1 billion. Our hero stands by the door and opens it. He asks her, "Okay, how much would that house over there cost?" She replies, "That house is from 500 to 600 million. Our hero is quiet for a moment, looks at her, and says, "I want to buy it. You want to buy that house?" The agent is shocked, but she knows he isn't joking. And if he really wants to buy this house, the commission will be in the millions. She says, "All right, I'll check if we have similar houses for sale." But Jean says to her, "No, I want this exact house." The agent is surprised that our hero is insisting on the house in front of the office. She tells him, "But that house, the owner doesn't want to sell it." He tells her, "Well, if I paid more than the market price, wouldn't the owner sell?" The agent thinks, maybe, but she continues her thought silently. Why does he want to buy it? For a price higher than the market? What's the reason he wants to buy this house? Our hero goes to his bag and takes out money. He tells her, "You said the market price is around 600 million, right? I'll add 200 million on top of the 600. That makes it 800 million. The agent is shocked when she sees the money in cash on the table, which is about 30 million. Jean continues, "If this deal happens and you buy the house, the money on the table will be your commission, of course." Folks, everyone in the world would love to have their own house. It's a dream for many people. And the owner of the house that our hero wants to buy got the house in a court auction 2 years ago. But the happiness didn't last because problems started to appear. For example, her husband complained about the distance between the house and his work. Even the children were complaining about the same problem between the school and the house. The house, which was 20 years old, needed maintenance, but the cost of maintenance was very high, which made them do only the basic repairs. But during this period, new apartments started to appear in the city, and the homeowner wanted to move to one of them. She was told by one of the real estate agents that the house's price is around 600 million. Because of the problems with it, it might go for 500 million. And after our hero came, the real estate agent spoke with her and told her that a young man liked the house and wanted to buy it. Of course, the homeowner was ready to sell if he paid the market price. But then the real estate agent says he doesn't know the prices in the area, so I told him 800 million, and he agreed to buy it. The homeowner is shocked by the number, of course, because that amount would be enough for her to get the apartment of her dreams. But she started to suspect the price of the house, because with a number like that, he could buy a house close to the station. So she asks the agent for some time to think and says she'll let her know later. She was thinking there was a hidden value in the house, and instead of agreeing to the sale, she changed her mind. Later, she told her husband that someone wants to buy the house and told him the price. He agreed immediately and told her to sell. But as for her, greed was eating away at her mind. We see her talking to the agent and telling her, "I thought about it yesterday. I won't sell for 800 million. If he pays $1 billion, I'll agree." The agent replies, "But the man said he's going to sign a contract with Mr. Jaion's father. Apparently, he saw their house the same day, and he'll only pay 760 for it." The homeowner is shocked and feels like the deal is about to fall through, and even that the house he saw is bigger than hers. She tells the agent, "He hasn't signed a contract yet, has he?" Tell him, I'll sell for 760 as well. Please, try to convince him, and I'll pay you a good commission. Time passes, and she calls her back. The agent tells her again. He agreed to the offer. She suggests that she receive a down payment before he changes his mind. She agrees. The homeowner agrees, and indeed, our hero pays $228 million. The agent says, you know that the holiday is in 4 days. Will you be able to move out of the house during that time? The homeowner replies, we haven't even found a new house yet, and you want us to move in 4 days. She tells her. The agent then says, well, the young man wants to take the house before the holiday, so try to move during this period, and he's ready to pay you $20 million for moving expenses. But fine, I'll just tell him, you can't do it. The homeowner yells at her and says, what do you mean I can't? Tell him he'll have the house the day after tomorrow. We see our hero sitting at the agent's office and listening to the conversation from the homeowner, and remembers that their house was sold before his father's funeral was over. And after the 2 years that passed, he decided to get it back. He might have been able to get it for a cheaper price, but he was in a hurry. The agent tells him, afterwards, congratulations on the house. We'll prepare everything for you to sign the contracts tomorrow. By the way, is there any good news you can tell me? Like, is there a development plan or a hidden value? I heard there's nothing like that. Oh, what am I doing? Why am I meddling in things I shouldn't be? I'm very sorry, and congratulations again. A little later, we see our hero walking in the street, surprised by the holiday crowds. He says, well, it doesn't matter. The important thing is that I bought the holiday gift, and I'm very happy. He takes out his phone and calls his mom. While thinking about the words hidden value, we see on the phone screen a picture of our hero and his family, standing in front of the house he just bought. He tells his mom, yes, Mom, I'm coming in now. We see our hero and his mom at home, and he asks her if she's ready for them to go out. His mom replies as she puts on her jacket, well, why aren't we eating at home? Do we have to go out to eat? Jean replies, it's the holiday today, Mom. We have to go out and eat out. They go down from the apartment, and Take is waiting for them. He tells our heroes, Mom, come on, Mom. I'm taking you to a really nice place. She asks why Jean isn't feeling the cold and is wearing such light clothes. He tells her not to worry about him, because he's wearing thermal underwear. That keeps him warm. After they get in the car, his mom asks, where are we going? Jean replies, we're going to a really nice place. Just be patient. And here, our hero's phone rings, and it's Shin, who's calling. He answers her, and she says, hey, Jean, why aren't you answering the phone? I've been calling you for a while. He tells her, Jean, sorry, I didn't notice. I'm sorry, but what's the matter? Is there a problem or something? It's the holiday today. Shin continues, how did you know the device will be discontinued? Our hero gets flustered and says, what are you talking about? And how would I know? Shin tells him, you told me that when we were leaving the store last time. And indeed, that's what happened, folks. Our hero said they would stop its production soon. Our hero replies, I was joking. I said at the time that I was just kidding. Anyway, I'm on my way, somewhere now. I'll call you later. And happy holidays. Our hero hangs up before Shin can finish her sentence and wonders if she's caught on. He looks at his phone and sees a message from Park that he wants to talk to him. Apparently, he's shocked about the production halt. He decides then to reply to him later. At that moment, he hears his mom repeatedly saying, what brought us here? The car stops, and our hero and his mom get out. They look at the house. Our hero is thinking that his mom remembers all the memories that happen here. After all, she lived in this place for 20 years. His mom says, it's really nice to come back here and remember the memories. Okay, since we've come and looked at the house, let's go back now. Our hero takes her by the hand and tells her, we're already here. Come on, let's go inside, Mom. His mom says, wait, Jean, you can't just walk into a stranger's house like that. After they enter the house, they find it empty. His mom says, it seems the people who were here have moved. At that moment, the memories start to flash before her eyes. She sees our hero when he was little, when he was running on the stairs, and when he fell on the floor. She remembers when he would get good grades at school and come to her in the kitchen to make her happy. And after he grew up and succeeded, he brought her his diploma. And the last time, when he went to the army, she tells him, I've seen everything. Let's go now, Jean. Even if the house is empty, we can't enter without permission. He replies to her, Why are you saying the house belongs to someone else? The house is ours again, Mom. He takes out the contract and gives it to his mom, who looks at it in shock. She says, "How did this happen?" Jean replies, "Take and I earned some money and bought it." And out of shock, his mom falls to the floor and starts to cry, saying, "I'm so happy, my son. I'm happy because you've grown up and become strong." Our hero approaches her and tells her, "Why are you crying on such a beautiful day?" And here, can't hold himself back and starts to cry, cursing at his friend and hugging him. Of course, our hero told his mom what might have happened, but he didn't mention the premonition. He also didn't mention the eagle. Even when she asked him how much he earned, he couldn't tell her the full amount and decided to tell her only 1% of it, which is 3 billion. His mom is shocked when she hears the number. Our hero tells her, "I decided I'll go back to university later. I'm going to get into the investment business for now." She replies to him, "This is not an easy thing to do. Many people try to profit from this. And your father always used to say that anyone who says they have information is considered a con man." Our hero smiles and says to himself, "Well, the man that you're talking about, that's your son." But it's natural for her to worry when she sees her son, who is still young, talking about investing. He replies to her, "I didn't borrow the money, nor did I take out loans. I'm only using the money I have. And if any problem happens, I'll stop immediately." His mom says, "Okay, I'm sure you've thought about it carefully. But the comforting thing is that Take is with you." Take says, "Don't worry, Mom. I'll take full responsibility for Jean." Our hero continues, "Listen to you, the responsibility company. Anyway, regarding the maintenance for the house, a company is coming tomorrow. They'll see what needs maintenance and start working. And I'll give you their phone number so you can call them and tell them what you need." She replies to him, "But that will be very expensive." He tells her, "Don't worry about the money, and you can stay in the apartment there. And now and after they finish the maintenance, you can come and live here." Take says, All right, folks. Shouldn't we book a restaurant now? Let's go and celebrate the holiday." Indeed, they go to the restaurant and celebrate the holiday there. And our hero silently tells his father not to worry because he will take responsibility for his mother after him and take care of her, and that he can rest now in a place where he is buried. The next day, we see Take's car loaded with our hero's and his mom's things, and she tells him to take care of himself and to keep calling her. And if he's busy, she'll come and see him. They get in the car, and the two of them leave. And of course, for the investment work they'll be doing, Take bought a house. But at the same time, it was like an operations base or a headquarters for their work. So our hero asks him, "How much did it cost you?" Take replies, "Around 4 billion. Very humbly. Our hero tells him, "Wow, so what does humble mean to you?" Then, a little later, they arrive at the house, go inside, and he says, "Okay, I'll take the first floor, and you take the second floor. But as for the basement, what do you think about making it a study room?" Jean replies, "You mean turn it into a comics room, right?" Take continues his sentence after. He's settled. "Your things, let's go shopping." Our hero tells him, "Don't we have everything?" Take replies to him, "That's the wrong question, my friend. It's not about what are you going to buy. Rather, it's how much you're going to buy." And now we go to a store affiliated with Samsung. We see our hero and his friend entering a store, and an employee asks them if they're looking for anything in particular. Take replies that he's just going to look around. Our hero asks him if he has decided what he's going to buy, and if he does, what will it be? Take replies, I can buy the whole store. I don't need to think about what to buy. I just want to take my time and look around and see what catches my eye. Oh wow, what's this screen? We see them standing in front of a large screen. The employee tells him that this screen was recently released by Samsung with high-definition quality, and it costs about 35 million. So he says, "All right, I'll buy this screen." The employee is shocked by his words and asks him what he means. Take replies, "What? Is it not for sale?" The employee stammers and says, "Oh no, it's not that. That's not the reason." Take cuts him off and says, gesturing to the entire showroom, "From here to there, I'll buy the most expensive item of each type." The employee asks, "Sir, do you have a membership or any discount cards? How many months for the payment plan?" Take sits on the sofa with a smug look and says, "Man, I'm here to repay a debt. Something good happened to me because of Samsung." The employee says, Alright, if you buy every main product of each category, the total cost will be about 68.5 million. Takes out his card and says, "Oh, that's cheaper than I thought. I'll pay in full. You have delivery, right?" A little later, they leave the store and all the employees thank them for their visit. Our hero says, "Aren't you worried about buying so much?" Take replies, "I told you, I'm repaying a debt. Now let's go check out the furniture we need for the house." The next day, we see the house after they bought everything. Take says, "I thought I'd make the basement our hideout. The workers told me that the bedrooms have been furnished with the same furniture. And now, come and see my room." After being cooped up in that small studio, our hero says, "Wait, is this a room just for your action figures and toys, isn't it?" Take replies, "Hey, have some respect for my taste. Anyway, come, I'll show you the office. Look, it looks like a real office now that it's all set up." And with that, I'm starting to feel like the real work has begun. But there's one last thing we need to finish. We see a fax arriving, and our hero pulls out the paper. He says, "This is the business registration document you signed last time. Let's see." The paper lists the company name, with our hero as the CEO, and his ownership stake at 80%. The COO is Take, with a 20% ownership stake. Take says, "What do you think of the company logo? It's cool, right?" Our hero replies, "You got it from the title of that manga you were reading, didn't you?" Take replies, "If we become famous, I was thinking of removing the letters and just keeping the logo. Anyway, let's get to work, Mr. CEO." Our hero thinks about how he was broke just a short while ago, and now he's the CEO of a company worth billions. A little later, we see them making coffee. Take says, "So our plan now is whatever the eagle predicts we'll invest in, right?" Jean replies, "There's no doubt about its predictions. But despite that, there are a few things. First, I can't control the eagle. I can't just see it whenever I want to. If I could control it, I know which stocks would rise or fall and invest. Based on that, I'm still not sure if this is the normal situation or if I'm just not ready yet. But for now, the things I see are random and irregular. Second, the information that appears is very limited. Let's say, for example, the eagle predicts that a piece of land's value will increase tenfold, but I don't know if that will happen in a year, 2, or 10. We went through a really bad situation with the phone incident because we didn't know the timing. All we knew was that its production would be halted, but analyzing the predictions we receive and preparing an investment strategy is now our responsibility. And third, which is really worrying, is the certainty of the eagle's vision. Because if we assume the future isn't fixed, then our actions could cause a distortion in the predictions. Take says, "You mean like a precognition dilemma? The future vision? I mean natural disasters like volcanoes or meteors are hard for one to change, but the results of human actions can be easily changed." Jean replies, "How did you understand that so quickly? Are you really Take?" Take replies, "It's a common theme in comics." Jean says, "What happened with the device story could have failed if Samsung had delayed the discontinuation by a few days to avoid losses we would have lost. And this issue is similar to the land deal. The value of the land could rise significantly, but suddenly the project planned for it could be canceled or moved elsewhere. In short, the eagle's role here is fundamental, but how we deal with the information is a matter of equal importance to the prediction." Take says, "Well, that's true. We have the skill, but the impact is related to the person's level." Our hero continues, "If you were a member of a well-known Chable family, for example, you would have earned 100 times more." Take replies, "All right, then I have to work harder and level up. By the way, your magic eye is still working, right?" He says, our hero, that he's not sure. He continues in his head, sipping his coffee. "This feeling is beyond the 5 senses. Even if I'm not seeing a prediction right now, I can feel it. It's there. It's clearer than the taste and smell that I'm sensing right now." Take says, "Okay, you focus on how to control the eagle, and I'll focus on support." Time passes, and our hero is sitting, browsing the internet, thinking that the best thing he could see are major events, like the story of the phone. Of course, achieving a profit of 50 times the investment once. If it happened a second time, it would destroy all financial sectors. He sees that the news is still talking about the device's sudden halt. Suddenly, he sees a news report and shouts loudly, "Stop sleeping, take income." See this news. The news is about the device. And who bought the short-selling contracts? It says that a foreign company bought short-selling contracts before Samsung's announcement to halt the device, and the profits were in the billions. Here, the financial companies have requested an investigation by the regulatory authority. Take says, based on the timing, they're talking about us. They both look at each other without saying a word. After a while, we see them sitting in the basement for what is considered the first shareholders meeting of the company. Our hero says, "We underestimated the situation, because if you look at the timing, the story is too obvious, and it will make people suspicious. We should have distributed the orders across several accounts." Take replies, "Man, at the time, we didn't expect the situation to blow up like this. But we didn't do anything wrong, right?" Jean continues, "If you win from a buying deal, they'll say, 'Bravo,' but when you win from short selling deal, there'll be criticism." Take says, "Anyway, there's no problem for us, right? Our position is solid." Our hero answers him immediately. "It might pass once or twice, but if they suspect us a third time, there could be trouble. I mean, look, if I win the lottery twice in a row, you'll find someone coming out and questioning it." So Take asks him, "So, are you suggesting we stop investing in short-selling contracts from now on?" He replies, "I'm saying we need to think of other ways, because in the end, short-selling contracts have limits, unlike buying contracts, because short-selling contracts go against the market and are considered effective for short-term trade. But later, and in the long run, the market will rise again." Indeed, folks, many crises have happened since the market first appeared. For example, like the incident of the Great Depression, the two world wars, terrorist attacks, the financial crisis, and many others. And every time the system collapsed and the outlook was bleak. But the market always recovered, learned from its mistakes, and got back on its feet again. Our hero says, as long as there's no new shock, like the financial crisis, it's impossible for one to enter a short-selling deal worth billions. We must invest in buying, and we can use short-selling deals when the situation is not right. That's why, let's make our company a holding company and acquire the shares of other companies. Our hero explains to his friend that they will acquire companies that are performing well, and they will take a majority stake, making the companies their subsidiaries. Take asks him how much they'll earn from this. Our hero continues, "The goal is to double our capital in 3 years. That means more than $1 trillion. Our hero explains the details of the work and how they will divide the work among the companies and what they will do in these deals. Take says, "Cool, I like that, especially since we'll be working with options. Again, because they're the best." Jean replies, "You become obsessed with options. First, we'll start by analyzing Kospi stocks." I said the word analysis, but it will be more of a screening of public information available on the internet. If the eagle appears and gives me a prediction, then great. But if it doesn't appear, then we have no business there." Take stands up and says, "All right, cool. Let's keep searching here until the predictions come." They stand up, shake hands, and indeed our hero starts to search. After a long time, our hero couldn't find anything. He wonders if he managed to search through all the Kospi stocks. He looks at the clock on his phone. It's around 12 at night. He says to himself, "I haven't seen anything at all. I didn't expect it to end like this." Tay comes with papers and puts them on his desk. Our hero asks him what it is, and he replies, "Well, if you keep staring at the screen for too long, your eyes will get tired. So I decided to print them out." The next morning, after Take wakes up, he goes down to the living room and finds our hero sitting there. He asks him if he's been awake all night and pulled an all-nighter. He tells him he needs to rest a bit, or asks if he has found anything. He replies, "Jean, I've reached one certain conclusion. Right now, we are chasing a ghost." Take is surprised. "You mean our company's acquisition plan was wrong?" He replies, "The direction is correct, but the method seems wrong. If we had a prediction like a list of the top 20 investments, for example, we wouldn't have to worry. But that's not going to happen. and the way we'll acquire the shares has problems too. Because the big companies with market values in the tens of trillions are not a problem, but the small companies with values less than a trillion, as soon as we enter them, their stock prices will either skyrocket or suddenly collapse. You could say it's like an elephant jumping into a small pond. The water will overflow from the pond, and when the elephant gets out, the water level will drop. Take says, what about foreign stocks? I mean, there are new markets in Vietnam, India, and China. And there are also great companies like Apple and Google. Jean replies, the idea is good, but we need connections to achieve it. Take asks him if they can hire a financial expert who knows the foreign market well. He replies, our hero, that if they're going to play at a high level, they will definitely need help from experts in this field. And even if they have good information, there are limits that will prevent them from analyzing to the end, and even from the perspective of making decisions regarding the investment strategy. Because whatever type of company they have, the most successful CEOs are the ones with the best teams that achieve success. They suggest establishing an investment firm as a subsidiary of their main company. That way, they can gather the talent they'll need, and it will ultimately be under their management. He will determine the investment based on the predictions, and they will create an organization to execute their strategy. And the first talent I want to hire. But before he can finish his sentence, a phone rings. It's Takes, who is startled. Our hero says, I know who's calling you. Your face just changed. Take answers the phone, and our hero thinks, how is it that the talent I want to hire first is calling right now? Because Hyunjo is first Take's sister and an employee at a global investment bank, which is Golden Gate. Hyunjo yells, where are you right now? Why is your house empty? Take replies, flustered, I moved out yesterday. Hyunjo continues, send me your address and wait for me there. I'm on my way now. Jean says, your sister is in Korea? That's great, because you were supposed to meet her. Take tells him, yes, but she seems really angry. Our hero asks him why she's angry. If he did something wrong, Take starts counting on his fingers the wrong things he's done. A little later, Hyunjo arrives at their house and sits opposite them, fuming, lighting a cigarette. Take says, trying to get up. You know secondhand smoke is harmful to your health. Come on, guys, let's air this place out. His sister tells him, in a scary way, sit. What's the deal with this house? Take answers. Immediately, I bought it. I wanted to live here starting from now on. Hyunjo continues, go ahead and explain to me what happened. Take tells her, what do you mean? Why did I buy it, you mean? Hyunjo gets angry, stands up, and grabs the ashtray to hit him with it, saying, what happened to the billions that were in your account? Our hero runs to calm her down, saying, you're here about this matter. Hyunjo continues, you're ignoring the issue as if nothing happened. You know, after the story of the phone that exploded, it's now the hottest topic in the global financial market. This incident caused Samsung and the Korean stock market to collapse. Also, the financial companies that issued derivatives related to the stock suffered huge losses, and there's a rumor circulating that before the incident happened, a certain party bought a large number of put options related to Samsung and its index and made enormous profits. And that party has an account with Golden Gate in the same place I used to work. Because of this, the Asian branch's account balance rose to over $600 million. Of course, there are many shell companies that use a random set of letters for their names. So I suspected your company was one of them. Then I got a call from a colleague who told me he transferred over 10 billion from an offshore account to a domestic account for you. And since I created the account, I was able to access it and see the transactions in it. I was shocked when I saw the amount in the account and all the details of the revenue that came into the account. I realized it was from put options. Can you tell me, what were you doing, Take? Our hero is shocked that their story reached Golden Gate. Hyunju sits down and continues, did you really make a put option deal on Samsung? Take replies, terrified, yes. Is it really that big of a deal? Hyunju replies, are you kidding? Son, because of this right now, the supervisory authority has requested documents from Golden Gate. Our hero asks her, what kind of documents did they request? She tells him they are records of the company's transactions OTK, and details about the company's owner. Her brother asks her if they've already taken those documents. Hyunju answers, even Golden Gate doesn't know who the owner of the company is. They only know the country where the company was founded. And as for client information, they don't hand it over that easily. Our hero says, okay, isn't it wrong for them to refuse to cooperate with the supervisory authority, or what? Hyunju answers, this applies to local institutions. Our hero continues, well, it's good they didn't hand it over, but what's the basis on which the supervisory authority is coming and requesting the data? She tells him they suspect trading based on insider information. Her brother asks her what that means. She replies, annoyed, I can't believe you caused all this commotion in the market, and you don't even know what insider trading means. For publicly listed companies, they are obligated to provide important information to investors, and no one can trade before the companies announce it. Take asks, is that a serious crime? Our hero answers, it would destroy trust in the market. In the worst-case scenario, if they consider our profits unfair, they will deem it an illegal activity and confiscate all the money. It could also mean 5 years in prison. Take says, so they'll take us in for questioning. Our hero replies, they need evidence to prove insider trading, so generally, we're fine. Hyunju asks her brother, who told him to do this. He points to our hero, who says, Take's right, I'm the one who told him the information. Hyunju asks him where he got the information, but before he speaks, she grabs the fire extinguisher, again threatens them with it, and says, you two don't seem to understand the situation. This can't be ignored. If what happened isn't explained, it will be considered a financial crime. You will explain everything, and how you got this information in detail. Tell me before things get more complicated. Of course, guys, our hero understands that Hyunju is worried about her brother, because he could go to jail, but Take decides to speak. Here, our hero interrupts him, and tells him that he will be the one to explain. And indeed, he explains the whole story to her. Hyunju says, so to summarize, you deduce that the phone will be discontinued because of the explosions that happened, which could have been just initial defects. And at that time, the company's stock was at its highest level in history, and you were able to figure out through your own analysis that the device would be discontinued. And you told Take about this. And you Take trusted your friend and bet 13 billion. And when the loss reached 10 billion, you stayed confident and waited. Take says, exactly. And there was no one involved from inside the company. Hyunju tells him, so no insider trading. She continues to herself, although I feel like you're hiding something. But based on this situation, it means you were confident in your analysis to the very end. As for my brother, he has complete faith in someone else's judgment. This matter needs more thought. She continues talking to them and asks if they knew about the famous bank case. Our hero answers, you mean the old options shock case? I know it. Hyunju continues, exactly. That's the one where they bet that the stock would fall and manipulated the prices to win. Do you know that day? The experts who manipulated the stock price, how much did they earn from it? About 50 billion, that's all. But you guys won 10 times that amount. Of course, guys, the bank case that Hyunju is talking about led to very strict laws to protect securities firms and investment funds from collapsing. But in our hero and his friend's case, which has never happened before, all the firms and funds won't cover what happened, and the financial institutions will lose all their profits for the year. And although the banks are very careful, Golden Gate Bank itself lost $20 million. And all this because of 2 investors who used a discontinued product. Our hero says, we were lucky we set up a foreign company for tax purposes. Hyunju replies, if your company were a Korean company, we'd be sitting at the Financial Supervisory Service right now. And since the first trade wasn't insider trading, there's no major problem. So don't worry. Take says, what mistake did we make? We didn't manipulate the stock prices. Our hero thinks this is their point of view. But for the financial institutions that lost trillions, they now have their biggest enemy. Hyunju continues, I thought you were just playing with 13 billion, but you created all this chaos. Now what are you planning to do with this money? Our hero sees that it's time to talk business. But Take says, I split the company shares with Jean. He gets 80% and I get 20. And now, Jean is the largest shareholder in the company. Hyunju is shocked and yells, what do you mean you gave him 80%? Take replies, because he provided the information and bought the put options. And I just split the money. Of course, guys, you know that in business, it's obvious that the capital provider takes the larger share. Even a 50-50 profit split seems difficult, but for it to be 80%, that's a huge shock, honestly. Hyunju continues. So, the company practically belongs to Jean. Take replies to her. If we want to continue investing, then Jean has to manage the company. She asks him, his sister, if he wants to continue investing. Just because they got lucky this time. But next time, things might not go well. Take reassures her, saying he has a plan, having set aside the initial capital, which is 13 billion. And with that, they won't have a problem securing a good life. Take asks her to help them and says he'll give her 3% of his shares, which is about 20 billion. Hyunju is shocked by her brother's words. Our hero says, I agree with Take's opinion. You're worried that I'll manage the company recklessly, aren't you? You won't even need to leave your job. In fact, your presence at your job will be a great advantage. Hyunju replies, Jean, could you go and buy me some coffee? Our hero understands that she wants to be alone with her brother, so he agrees and gets up immediately. As for Hyunju, this girl was a genius. Since she was young, even without private tutoring, she was able to get into the College of Economics at Korea University and became its top student. After that, she got a job at Golden Gate, which is considered one of the hardest global investment banks one can work for. She was promoted quickly and became a team leader in the Asian branch, but her brother spent his life slacking off, and now he's a billionaire. In 2 days, she sees our hero sitting in the cafeteria and thinks about how she must feel when her brother offers her the job with him. Our hero returns home and is met by Take, who tells him his sister agreed to help them. Hyunju says, Take, go and get me some cigarettes. You know what I smoke, right? Take replies, but you just sent Jean away a little while ago. Why do you want me? Before he can finish, his sister give him a certain look. He runs off quickly, knowing his sister will get mad at him. Our hero says, thank you for agreeing to help us. Hyunju replies, and why would I refuse? 21 billion? After all, if I don't help you, you'll just hire someone else. He agrees with her. Our hero agrees with her and says to himself, but we wouldn't have given them shares like you. Hyunju continues, there's something else. This is the first time that boy has tried to do something serious other than his strange hobbies. Our hero thinks her words are true, because this is the first time he's seen his friend this enthusiastic. And without that enthusiasm, they wouldn't have even started. Hyunju says, you must know that this investment was reckless, no matter how confident you felt, but the risk was huge. But despite that, I respect the result. To invest 13 billion and win about 700 billion is a great achievement and deserves appreciation. Let's put Take aside. Why do you want to invest, Jean? He replies to her, I didn't start with a specific goal, and I still don't have a goal. It's a good thing to have a lot of money. After all, in a capitalist society like ours, money equals happiness. But he stops for a moment and thinks. He thinks that he doesn't know why he has this ability, but now, living a normal life, as he lived before, that is impossible. He can't go back to it. After all great investors succeeded in their unique ways and became legends, and he doesn't have a unique investment method like them, but he has foresight. This foresight is considered a type of investment method. After all, luck and accidents are important factors too. He continues his conversation with her and says, I'm also confident that this is what I do best. Hyunju tells him, the financial field is not easy as you think. It's full of experts and scammers. I worked in this field for 10 years and I'm still learning about the market. Honestly, I'd rather not see you enter this field. But our hero interrupts her and tells her, I know you're worried, sis, but regardless of what happens to Take, believe me, he won't get hurt. Hyunju continues her sentence. I am relieved that he's your partner, Take. I'm looking forward to starting work together, Mr. CEO of OTK Company. Our hero shakes her hand and tells her, I'm also looking forward to working with you, sis. Okay, and so guys, you know that our hero, Jean, is the CEO and the COO is Take. And Hyunju is now a shareholder with a 3% stake. And she is very competent and will support them greatly. Until now. And we see our hero talking with Hyunju on the phone saying, the company will be a holding company and we will establish a separate investment company. What do you think about that? She replies while sitting at her desk. The idea is good. What kind of company will you choose? Or let's say, how will you handle it? Our hero answers that this is what's making him anxious. Hyunju continues. There's no need for you to rush. There are many opportunities. Let me know if you need help. There's something else I want to say. Do you have any plans to change the name? Take replies. What's wrong with the name OTK? Hyunju answers. It's very obvious that it's an abbreviation for the word otaku. Take continues. Guys, OTK is an abbreviation of my name. Our hero thinks that he could change the company name and name it after himself and his friend's name, but there's no need to change it because this was the expectation he saw at first. He then says, let's respect the founder's opinion and stick with it. Hyunju tells them she'll call them back, and he returns to ask, Take, what's wrong with the company name? But our hero replies to him, let's think about something together. The 3% Hyunju will take from you, and I can give you from my share. Take tells him, first of all, she's my sister, so it's natural she takes from my share. As for you, it's better that your share is 80%. I mean, you're the #1 shareholder in the company. I'm telling you, we've agreed with Hyunju. Now what do we do next? He replies to him, we need to find someone who is optimistic and trustworthy to be in charge of the investment company. I need someone to be my hands and feet to execute my plan. He asks him, Take, if he has someone in mind. Our hero replies, no one at all, but I told Hyunju about this and asked her to send me market news and stocks. And honestly, it's really nice to have friends in global banks. And with that, our episode today comes to an end. And the password for today's episode is Hyunju. This was AMR Salem behind the mic. See you together in the upcoming episodes. With all that's new, a big peace out.